Hello.
Why we draw the line on the ring on the finger, not him biting your neck and turning you into a vampire. Like that's
permanently.
That's okay.
For eternity.
But not to till death do us part. What
understanding like how massive this was is just, it didn't matter that Rotten Tomatoes rated it like extremely low. Nobody gave two shits about Rotten Tomatoes at that time. Nobody cared. They were all still going.
When Edward left that bitch in those woods, I was devastated. I canceled plans with my friends that night because I was crying so hard. Girl, you don't know. You don't understand. When Edward left that bitch in those woods.
I would really do with book 4. We can. But I would in the day and age of 2025 with the kind of books that I read now, I mean, it's a moment for a why choose book. Fourth, why choose opportunity?
Welcome, Night Owls, to the Book Club After Dark podcast, an inviting moonlit podcast. I'm your host, Danny.
And I'm Michelle. We break down fantasy, romantasy, and thriller novels.
All things enchanting, intriguing, suspenseful, and maybe a little spicy.
Each episode features intimate discussions on captivating stories, character breakdowns, fan theories, and more. And this is your content warning. This podcast contains mature themes and discussions that may not be suitable for all audiences. Episodes include explicit language as well as depictions of violence and other intense subject matter. This podcast is rated R for mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
And going forward from here, as always, there will be lots of spoilers in the coverage of the Twilight Saga series, which I feel like shouldn't be too much of a surprise. And also, it's been out for like 20 years. So anyway, this is your spoiler warning. So consider this your spoiler warning. I do know there's some folks that have not read them all. Name might be Michelle. Or others that have not read all the books. So yes, this is your spoiler warning for the novels as well as the movies. And yeah, here we go.
Let's get cozy because the best stories are told after dark. And speaking of cozy, tonight we are wearing matching shirts from the Lost Bros. They are a theme park inspired apparel. So thank you, Lexi, so much for sending us these shirts. So Danny's showing us on YouTube. It says City of Starlight, which is a nod to Valerius to Akatar. But if you look closely at the image, it's actually Tangled. And you can see Rapunzel and Flynn and the lantern. So I thought it was a really cool mashup. I didn't recognize until Danny was like, that's Tangled. I'm like, no way. I'm like looking down at my shirt. I'm like, oh my God, it is. It's the lanterns. So they're super cute. Thank you so much. You can get yours at the Lost Bros for your book, Disney theme park apparel crossover things.
Yeah, lostbrostradingco.com. So co.com. Don't forget that part. Yes. And thank you, Lexi, for sending these over to us and also letting us know all about this brand. Because I wasn't actually, even though we're Orlando-based, I didn't know that much about them, which shows how much I pay attention because they have well over 200,000 followers in the Orlando area. But that's cool. They gave us these shirts and they have such really cool. So this is obviously bookish / Tangled, mashup Disney-ish, which is amazing. But they also have really cool other emo style haunted mansion shirts from there's really cool different stuff that they have that I absolutely love. And so I had reached out to them hey, if you ever want to work together, and they're like, oh, send us your address. And I was like, okay. I didn't think anything of it. And then they sent us shirts and I was like, shut up, that's so cool. And so thank you so much to Lexi again at Lost Bros Trading Co. We love them. And super cool. Love repping Orlando local brands and spreading the word about something such a creative idea.
Yeah, love it. Theme parks, books.
Yeah, what's not to like? Of course. Okay, so let's get into the drink of the episode tonight. And I'm calling it the Jacob Black. And this is also really cool. We have partnered with, can I just say how really fucking cool it is that we're having partnerships now, a bunch of them. It is just awesome to me that we have these really cool things going on. But anyway, drink of the episode tonight is the Jacob Black, and it is also sponsored and created by Cocktails and Screams of downtown Orlando, which was really cool for Michelle and I to go experience the making of the drinks of the episode for this entire month, which is going to be all featured by Cocktails and Screams. This drink we're calling the Jacob Black. If you are going to the bar, you're going to order what's on their menu called the neurotoxin, but you're going to see why in a minute when I explain to you the ingredients, why this is called the Jacob Black. You will also know when you watch the video on our YouTube and on our other socials why this is called the Jacob Black. But again, thank you so much to Cocktails and Screams for working with us on this. The ingredients on this one's going to slap you in your face and might put some hair on your body or chest like a werewolf. And it is made with equal parts. I was trying to say that without laughing, and it just didn't happen. It is made with equal parts bourbon and whiskey. It's got an in-house made strawberry simple syrup, lemon juice, charcoal powder, which is where we get that black color, and then a splash of club soda. You mix this all together, and this thing is the color black. It also will slap you in the face. And what I think I loved about it the most is the warmth that it would give you after you drink this, right? And then also, of course, it's the color black, so Jacob Black, right? But then I thought more about it and about what's happening to Bella, especially from a romantic angle. And it's a strong situation that's happening. And so for all of those factors, I thought this is a great cocktail for this week. It embodies what we're going to be talking about. And yeah, I tried it. Of course, Michelle, you couldn't try it because, as we all know,
I couldn't.
Michelle. How many weeks are you now, Michelle?
Pregnant. 18.
Here we go. 18 weeks pregnant.
Yeah, 18 weeks.
And the age of Bella as we start this book. That's
right?
Perfect. And so this drink was strong, like I said, very strong, but delicious. It was really good. I could definitely imagine myself ordering this. And thanks again so much to Cocktails and Screams for making this cocktail for us.
Yes, thank you. I mean, I can't try them all, but it was so fun to watch. The bartender, it's just so fun watching the mixture of the drinks and it just turn into just this pitch black drink. So if I could drink, I would have enjoyed that thoroughly.
Yeah. And so too, if you wanted to make it yourself, I feel like there's definitely some zero proof options out there to make this yourself where you could still do the charcoal and make a couple different variations of a similar drink if you want to try this and cannot indulge in alcohol or choose not to, which great for you. That's awesome. So let's immerse ourselves into Forks, Washington. This episode, we are exploring New Moon. And I have a lot to say about New Moon, but it's also New Moon by Stephenie Meyer.
I do.
Michelle, because it's your first read. I'm really excited to hear about it. But whether you're reading along with us or just here for the book talk, we're super glad you're here. Tonight, of course, we are running with a different method of how we're approaching this series as a whole. So just as a reminder, the episode will be in the format of Drink of the Episode, which we've already covered, an entire book summary, perspective as a first read versus a reread, movie comparison to the book, pop culture and facts. And tonight, before we end the episode with our mystery Q&A, we have Mandy, Brooke, and Farideh, both of which who are massively influential on social media. They're most famous for their Smut song, which is hysterical. Yeah, Smut song. They're going to be on the show. The interview with them was hysterical. I'm really, really excited for it. It might be one of our most hysterical interviews ever. I don't know. Steven and Squammy Pants are pretty tied with hilarity, but and then even Tegan, she was hysterical too. I feel like that this interview in particular though is going to be awesome, and I'm really, really excited for it. And then we're going to wrap with our mystery Q&A, which may or may not be millennial themed. We'll see if we can get another throwback question in there because last week's episode was really fun with a throwback. So yeah, so let's get started.
All right, summary. So we're going to start with a just broad overview summary so we all know where we are with this book. So New Moon is the second book in the Twilight Saga, continuing the story of Bella Swan and her complex relationship with Edward Cullen and Jacob Black. So we have, with our plot overview, there's going to be some key points. So the first is obviously the breakup, where the story begins with Bella's 18th birthday, and there is a minor accident, literally a paper cut, in the Cullen household, which causes Jasper to nearly attack her. And this incident leads Edward to believe that Bella is not safe around his family, even though they are vegetarian vampires and they stay very well composed, but, you know, that drop of blood set him in a frenzy. So that prompted him to end their relationship and leave Forks altogether, which sends Bella into this catatonic state. And then
I feel like we've mentioned this before. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Her depression and isolation, Bella really just spirals into this deep depression for months. Her emotional numbness reflects the intensity of her attachment towards Edward, and especially on Paige as well, which we'll talk about how that's just expressed on Paige, and then just how her friends literally suck. I'm sorry. They made me so mad the entire book.
Yeah.
And then the person that actually gets her out of her depression is Jacob Black. And she just relies a lot on him and his friendship. And he's just this warmth of support. He's literally warmth. She expresses that a lot. Like his body temperature is like 109 degrees or something. And their bond deepens. Yeah. And Bella begins to rely on him really emotionally. And their bond grows. Obviously, Jacob is feeling a little bit more of the romantic side, whereas Bella is just feeling the safe security for the majority of it, I would say. I would say the majority of it. And then there's like this turning point in chapter 16, which I have some thoughts on.
Okay.
But Bella then expresses this dangerous behavior because she realizes that her mind is literally trying to protect her. And really, she has like these projections where she can hear Edward telling her stop doing dumb shit. And so she's like, oh, cool. Instead of not doing dumb shit, I'm going to do more dumb shit. So I'll see you and hear you more. So she begins to ride motorcycles. And that's like a bonding point with her and Jacob, building this motorcycle. And then she like throws herself off a cliff because like, why not? And that just triggers the hallucinations of Edward's voice in her subconscious. And then after the cliff diving, there is the Volturi in Volterra. And this is where there's a misunderstanding where that leads Edward to believe that Bella has died. He travels to Italy intending to provoke the Volturi so he could, die with her. And this is like a powerful vampire coven. This is the first time we're actually seeing them. And Bella and Alice rush to save him just in time. And then the end of the book is the reunion, return. Kind of things are tied-ish in a nice little bow. Not really. Edward and Bella reunite. Edward explains he never stopped loving her and left her only to protect her, which is very toxic in his apology, but we'll get to that soon. And the Cullen family returns to Forks. The book ends with the promise of transformation.
Marriage.
Bella and, well, kind of.
Engage.
Kind of.
Kind of.
Right. Bella
the movie
and Edward
totally ends on a cliffhanger.
Yes.
With engagement.
Right. But so Bella and Edward basically are trying to come to an agreement because Bella has to turn. Alice told the Volturi she is going to turn. So she has to turn at some point. And Edward wants to prolong her humanity as much as possible. She's like, no, turn me now. But don't put a ring on it because that doesn't make sense. Just turn me anyways.
Right.
So.
Well,
yes,
and because the
Volturi
kind of
are
like, she knows she's human. You can't keep her. You're going to need to do something. So
yes,
figure it out. That's when we know that she's going to eventually be turned. Which she alluded to Alice in Twilight as well as being the one to turn her. And I forgot to mention that too in our first episode that we do get in the book to film comparison. We get Alice's backstory in Twilight, the first book. And they don't ever really like go too far into it in the movies. But Alice's backstory is that she was in an insane asylum. Yeah. And James,
because she could see the future,
wanted her. Right. And James wanted her at that time and tried to like hunt her. And she was turned. And then James killed the person who turned her. And then like he like left her whatever for dead or to turn or whatever. And I completely forgot to mention that part when we were talking about the previous episode because we were just so amped up to talk about everything else. But
well, Alice, her story also comes like in a full closure because she ends up visiting her gravesite. She sees her grandniece. Well, she sees like a living relative, but like doesn't like confront, but she sees that they exist. And she tried to find out more about her backstory, but she kind of gets a little bit of closure now with turning and her story. In New Moon, she explains that she tried to find as much as she could about her family and what happened to her.
So full analysis, right? Themes, love and sacrifice. So of course, there's at the beginning of New Moon, the movie, and at the beginning of the book, there's a Romeo and Juliet quote. And this storyline is so interwoven with Romeo and Juliet. It's mentioned a lot more in the book There's a lot of different references to Romeo and Juliet throughout the book than there are in the movie. But even in the movie, they take the time to read the opening quote that is on before the story even starts, which is, "These violent delights have violent ends, and in their triumph die, like fire and powder, which, as they kiss, consume." Romeo and Juliet, Act 2, Scene 6. So this is related to the entire storyline, of course, because obviously Bella jumps from the cliff. Edward thinks she's dead. He decides he's going to kill himself, misunderstanding the fact that she isn't dead at all. So it's a huge overarching, like, very obvious similarity. There's a similarities with multiple elements throughout the story that tie back to it, but that's the biggest. That's the very biggest, like, overarching theme that occurs in this book. So love and sacrifice is a big part of that.
Right. And then depression and identity is next. Bella, as Edward leaves her, she goes through a complete emotional breakdown, really just exploring her identity as a person, and then how that would be functioning with the wolves, because she has to navigate, being safe with the pack. But then once Alice comes along, she has to re-navigate what's it going to be like with the Cullens, and how that's going to impact Charlie, and how that impacts her, and how she sees herself. So identity is a big thing, since this is less a coming of age story as the books progress, because she is becoming more of an adult, but still a chasing identity that goes along with these coming of age stories and finding herself.
Right. And just like in the movie and the book, she's obsessed with age. She even mentions, there's a couple references to age at the beginning of New Moon in the film, and there's tons of references to age in the book as well. So it's definitely something that's a similar parallel, where she is just, like, obsessed with this idea of being older than Edward, even though we've talked about that in a previous episode, and just all of this.
Right.
Yeah.
Her obsession with Jacob's age too, because Jacob and her have, like, this game about, like, who's older, who's not, since Jacob is 2 years younger than her. And they have a game in that, but that's not really referenced in the movies at all. I think Jacob ended up being like 40 or something like that.
They make one comment about it while they're working on the bikes, but it's
that
not,
she's old.
It's definitely not.
Yeah, but it's not. Yeah, no, that doesn't go to the extent.
Yeah, as it is in the book. That's for sure. So friendship versus romance, another part of the theming here. Jacob offers an alternative to Edward, and he is different. He's very different than Edward, not just physically in every sort of way,
and monster
but
way.
also literally, like, everything. He's the reverse. He's the antithesis. Like, Edward's cold, Jacob's hot. Temperature wise, right? But this friendship versus romance thing exists, I think, a lot more for Jacob than it does for Anne.
Stepped in chapter 16.
Right. And then there's also this, like, idea of Edward just, like, abandonment. There's a couple different themes here, like preservation of her. This is his love for her in his mind to protect Bella. A relationship there's this contrast between emotional safety and just different things that are going on as far as where the line is for Bella. And she definitely struggles as she's going through New Moon with her, I think, romantic identity, like what she is trying to figure out. And I think this is really true to that age, where she's like, could I see myself with Jacob? Like, maybe I can get over Edward. Maybe it can happen to where I can grow. And there's a line in the movie too that talks about, like, Jacob's perception of, like, am I not the right monster for you? And, like, this whole, it's very true to that age, I feel like. But for Bella in particular, she just has a very hard time. Yeah.
Right. Because she relies a lot on making other people feel happy. So she doesn't actually, I feel like she struggles actually knowing what would make her happy. That's where that conversation, like her internal dialogue about Jacob, like, I feel like I could make him happy. It's not about her really being happy. It's about the people around her. And that stems from being the emotional stronghold with a very toxic mother, and then have a very emotionally absent father. So she really struggles with that as well.
Yeah, she's self-sacrificial in everything. She was like that with, the end of Twilight. She's just a martyr in like, well, I don't want anything to happen to you. Like, what if somebody hurts you? And they're all like, we're all vampires. Like, what are you even saying? You're human. Like, what are you talking about? And she just can't, that idea
She can't
of
process
people pleasing. And she just can't. She's definitely a very stereotypical people pleaser, to a certain extent. She doesn't want to be in the way, which is also like when your parents are chaotic or they put you kind of through a lot of trauma at a young age where you kind of feel like I'm a burden to them. I think that comes through for Bella a lot in this story, where even in her found family with the Cullens or even in her found family with Jacob, there's still, you're not going to get rid of that. And I think that Stephenie Meyer does a very good job of illustrating that, children with trauma, as you go through trauma in life, your relationships are going to reflect still those elements as you grow and change. So that is definitely part of what we're going to get into next, which is transformation and choice. So finally, throughout the end of the book, we finally see Bella kind of stick up for herself, which we saw when they meet with the Volturi, that Alice says she's gonna turn, like, we can leave. I've seen it. Right. But Bella's been advocating for this since Twilight. This isn't new. And she continues to advocate for it more, where her continued desire to become a vampire is something that, of course, Edward is very much against. But I think it's the one piece that she just keeps pushing for that I am happy about for her, is that she's finally saying, like, no, I'm like uncomfortable as a human. Like, look at me. I'm clumsy. Like, she doesn't really specifically emphasize that point. She just emphasizes that she wants to be with Edward. But I think there's just so many elements throughout the story, even in the books and the movies, of accidents that she has and how many times she just doesn't fit perfectly in that mold. And we know eventually, and I'm not going to give any spoilers, that this is all kind of foreshadowing to that effect as well.
Right. Well, she does mention in the book a little bit that she doesn't feel comfortable in her own skin, and she doesn't feel comfortable in her social groups either. Like, at first she was an anomaly, but then she becomes an outcast and then tries to reassemble into her group. But it's weird. She just doesn't, she's not status quo, which oftentimes in high school, that's where people are comfortable, just being status quo. Obviously, we tell kids we want them to be extraordinary and be different, but it's until they feel different, they just don't feel comfortable with themselves until they embrace that. And this is a way for her to be like, well, I always feel different. This makes sense to me. I would literally be different from everyone else because this is how I feel. I feel different all the time. So I agree with that point. And next, we have our three main characters, obviously, Bella, Edward, and Jacob. Mostly throughout this book, it's Bella and Jacob, though, because Edward, he dips. He goes to Rio, and that's kind of where we get more of a idea of why he's in Rio in the book. I don't feel like we get that so much in the movie. We just see that he's like in Rio. But really why he ended up there is he was actually tracking Victoria and trying his hand at tracking, and he realized he sucks at it. And she like lost him in Rio, which I'm like, you're in Brazil and you're in Washington. Two completely different continents, my guy. Like, same hemisphere at least, but like, you're a little off. And then he himself went into like kind of into a depression, which he does mention that it was difficult for him to exist. So that's why Edward wasn't so present in the books and the movies, but it wasn't as explained in the movie. And then we have Bella and Jacob and their relationship, and then Jacob undergoes his changes with the becoming a wolf. And I actually liked how, because I feel like in the whole transformation thing in the movie wasn't described at all. And in the books, what was hinted at, and we would get more information if Bella just asked more questions. It really frustrates me because I have questions and Bella doesn't ask questions. She's just like, cool, you're a wolf now. Awesome. And Jacob is very good at giving her hints. He like almost wants her to ask all of the questions. He wants her to know all about him. But she just is so accepting of him. And he's
and the note writing, super cute in the books. Like, you really don't get any of that in the movie.
Yeah. It's the
you only get that a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah,
But just
with
in
Jacob.
general, they have a lot more relationship building that isn't shown, I guess.
And it's not just him
it's
shirtless.
just glazed over. Okay, look, we're gonna talk about that. But yeah, I have things to talk about with
God.
that. But let's really get into now. Let's transition to book to movie comparison, because I know I've already made a couple quotes here. But first of all, New Moon, the book, was released and published in 2006. Where were you in 2006, Michelle? Just for everyone's awareness.
5th grade. 5th or 6th grade,
Damn.
depending on like the
Damn,
time.
girl.
If it was 6th grade, I had my first boyfriend. So that was
Okay.
it. Yeah. Going through first
And this
love.
is where our age gap will be very evident, because I was already out of high school by then and in my first year of college in 2006. So
Wow.
yes,
We're both going
we
through
have
first.
a significant. We're in our 30s, but very different parts of our 30s. So yeah, I was in a different part of my life when this book came out, and then the film was released actually a month before I graduated college, because I graduated in college in 2009 in December. The movie
a
was
freshman.
released in 2009. You were a freshman in high school,
high
right?
school. Yeah.
Yes.
You're out doing adulty things. I'm like still having
Yes.
acne and like
Yeah.
I'm a freshman.
Yeah.
Awkward and shit.
Yeah. Wow, that was interesting. You were a freshman. Well, so I was graduating college in November or December of 2009. November is when the New Moon film debuted. And the way I remember going to see this movie opening weekend, this movie was the second highest grossing of the entire franchise. Only beat out by Breaking Dawn Part 2, which makes sense, the epic conclusion, right? But New Moon was the second largest grossing. So this was, so we'll get into pop culture in a few minutes. Let's talk about how the book and the film are different. So first of all, the book is she's a thick girl. All right. She's thick.
Yeah, she thick.
She has almost 600 pages. So conversely, when you're talking about a film, you're not going to be able to put 600 pages on screen. It's just not going to happen. So you're going to have to start to take some things out early on, because it's just there's no way. So of course the pacing is significantly slower in the book versus the film. You get a lot more depth. You get a lot more like little intimate moments. For example, the first part of the birthday scene with Alice and with Jasper, there's mention of a pink birthday cake, the decorations. There's just a lot more depth of description in the book because there's more time spent in certain locations. So that, by the way, that cake, you can make that cake. It's part of Miss Kayla's book, who we had on our previous episode, our author, which her book, The Unofficial Twilight Cookbook, you can make the pink cake that's featured in New Moon book there. And also a really cool cocktail that's based off of the Jacob's Warmth, and also the blueberry muffins that were featured in the movie. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. That book is incredible. Please go out and pick up Kayla's book, The Unofficial Twilight Cookbook. Shameless plug. Debuts, releases July 15th. Happy birthday, Kayla. Congratulations. Thank you for being on the show. Moving on. The pacing, of course, is different. The film has a much faster pace, right? There's more focus on action, of course, which happened in Twilight. Twilight, there were all these different breakups of like, Charlie hunting this, the
bears,
vampires.
that
Yeah,
they
the
think
bears,
it's the bears.
vampires,
Yeah.
right. And then there's all these moments of them eating in a restaurant too, with this relationship with the side guy who ends up dying, and all these other things that had nothing to do with the book at all. They wanted him in there to like have a more audience appealing thing. I don't know if they would do that now. Do you think they would do it now, where they would like cut so many different things? I feel like the base for readers now is like insane.
Yeah,
where
readers
they're
go
just
crazy.
like,
No.
don't change that shit. I'll be pissed. Which yeah, I think if they take
Obviously,
certain liberties, it's expected. But
Right.
like,
Not just add a character just to kill them off, or
yeah,
completely change like certain scenes where she's going to like the precinct and that doesn't exist, and there's like an ambulance at the precinct. That made no sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
And and then they took off so much, which is the whole New Moon was the whole Edward versus Jacob. This is where it like really starts. You only get a glimpse of that in Twilight. You don't really see Edward versus Jacob until New Moon. They actually confront each other and they're both saying, come with me at the end. Like, at the very, very end, there's this whole split. There's so many moments in the book that make the Edward versus Jacob thing real. In the movie, everything seemed superficial.
Falls flat.
So
Yeah.
It didn't work as much. So nowadays, movies are like 2.5 hours long, so that gives them an extra hour. So they wouldn't have to cut as much
solidly.
stuff, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Or they can just turn it into a whole series and we don't have to cut shit. But yeah,
Wait, would
they
you
couldn't take as
watch
many lovers.
a Twilight TV series, like recast? Because I definitely would if they like.
I feel
did
like
it
I would.
correctly.
Yes,
Yeah.
if they followed the book like to a T, I feel
because-
like I would watch that.
Twilight, we get robbed of all the conversations that Bella and Edward have in the book that adds so much more of a depth to their characters, and it adds so much more of a depth as to like why they would be attracted to each other, like why this romance works. Like you kind of get it sort of in the movies, but there's still like a lot of plot holes in my opinion, more so than there are in the
Agreed.
books. Like you read the books and like it's like, oh, okay, like this makes a lot more sense. You watch the movies and you're like, okay, I guess. There's just not as much, it's not as satisfying. And I think it's because also with Vampire Diaries is a super long series, so you get a lot more time to like go through all of this. Twilight just didn't get that. And I wonder if they're going to do what they're doing with Harry Potter, which they're re-releasing it on HBO for like every single, they're going to like make it to the T, the books, which I'm fucking super pumped for, by the way, because the way we got robbed on Order of the Phoenix. Look, we got robbed.
That book
Anyway.
is like 900 pages.
Not
Like,
the
I'm
point.
sorry.
Not the point. We got robbed. We're segueing way, way off the line here. But the point is that I'm hoping that someone takes the Twilight Saga and is like, holy shit, this was one of the highest grossing ever in millennial history. They will definitely watch a reboot and they will definitely watch a series because I totally would. I hope they make it into like a TV series and try to do it justice. But also I wonder, because it has such millennial nostalgia for those specific actors, I don't know if they would, but maybe they would. So anyway, book versus the film. Of course, we have the faster pace. We have elements that happen with the wolves that are faster paced, little clips of like Victoria being chased by
The whole
the
transformation
wolves.
was
Yeah.
the whole transformation of Jacob and how Bella finds out that he is a wolf.
That was
is completely different. Like he literally changes in front of her where one of the other boys in the tribe are like getting angry that she knows about them or something.
Yeah.
Or that she's there.
The pack.
And that's
Yeah.
how she finds out. But how she finds out, it's like all flipped. Like he like gives her hints like, hey, I can't tell you, like, because he has like the oath that
The gag order.
Sam
Yep.
like put on him. Yeah. And she has to figure it out. And then they go to the beach. And then they talk about it. And then she figures it out. And he kind of gives her a little bit more details. Although not quite. Based on what I read, it seems like there are only as many wolves as there are vampires. And when a new vampire comes onto their land, that's when like a new wolf comes. There was a mention that one of Jacob's friends wouldn't become a wolf until like something happens. So that's what I'm assuming. Bella doesn't freaking ask questions. Like, what do you mean by that? Just ask a fucking question every now and then. So yeah. But that whole thing, then she doesn't actually see him turn for a while. So
Yeah.
that's completely different from the book and the movie.
Right. And then Edward, pieces of his story are cut too. And he has such a little part in the book. I was like, you guys couldn't put all this in there. I feel like you could have, because he doesn't have as much going on. You know what I mean? So obviously, of course, the first part being that in the opening parts of the book, he's a lot more present. He seems to kind of like after the birthday party just dip out. That's not at all what happened in the book. He definitely stayed with her for her birthday, stayed the night. They still had time together. Like there was no
a couple of days
illusion. Yeah, that it took a couple days before he made this decision. Alice leaves first. And even the relationship between Charlie and Alice isn't really emphasized in the movie the way it was in the book. Charlie loves Alice in the book, like to death. And it's not really emphasized that heavily in the films. And there's also this part of Edward where she sees images of him, but in the book, it's audio. She hears him. And that, when she's doing these dangerous things, there's no like ghost figure that they show in the movie. I think a lot of us leading up to seeing this movie were like, how are they going to depict that? That's going to be interesting. And then they did this like ghost thing. Whatevs, you know, it was of its time.
It worked.
Why not? It did work. And they didn't do it. It was more like it wasn't like a full ghost, you know, because it was like kind of like I don't know, premonition-y looking thing. I don't
Apparition.
know. It was weird.
I think.
Apparition. There we go. That's a better word. Yeah. So that was different. I did like how and I talked about this, and I'll talk about it in our interview that's coming up next. This piece that talks about months of grief. So it's highlighted in New Moon, and then it's highlighted again in the movie. And I really like what they did with the song choice, the way that they spanned, like they circled Bella. It's iconic now. It is literally legendary. People have done this on Reels many times, and everybody knows what you're referencing. They know it's that part in Twilight where she's sitting in her chair like this. If you're watching,
just looking out the window, the seasons are changing.
Yeah, just the season. Oh, yeah. You see the first scene. I always remember it. The first scene is like the kids running from with trick-or-treating bags outside her window. So that's Halloween. And then it goes around.
Charlie's like,
you get the fall leaves
in the yard. Yeah.
And the winter, you get the snow, and like the 3 months go by. And then the way it's illustrated in the book, and again, we're going to talk about this with our guests on the show, Farideh and Mandy, but the impact that has had across, it's one of the most impactful parts of New Moon. And I was so glad, even when I saw the film the first time, I was so grateful that they really did that justice and didn't just glaze over it. They made an important, impactful part of the film. And I think that highlighted the level of emotion that would be felt by Bella should Edward leave her, and how disastrous that was for her and her mental health at that time, which I'll be honest, like we as a society weren't super focused on mental health at that time.
Nope.
So it was a very good, we weren't good at it. No, not like today, not even close.
And I honestly wish the movie emphasized that more, because the book really just goes into the struggle that she had, not after her catatonic state, because Charlie's like, that's it. You're going to Jacksonville. I don't know what to do with you. I can't watch you just be a shell of yourself. And then she kicks into, well, I'm just going to go through the motions then. And she still feels hollow. And Charlie is watching her be a hollow version of herself, even though like she's going to school, she's getting good grades, you know, she's doing what she needs to do, but still emphasizes that her mental health is terrible right now. And her friends really suck. Bad. Oh my God. No, Jessica pissed me off that entire time, because she was just like, so oh my God, you're talking to me now? It's like, she's depressed. She literally, like, hello, how do you not see it? This is not a normal behavior for someone to have. And the fact that entire time, like, you are terrible friends. I hope something happens to you that's not good. But because that was just not good.
I will say this. That was true to the time. You didn't go, there was no, like, you didn't go to therapy for anything like that. Like, not for a broken heart. I mean, a little bit at that time you started to. I would say around that time things started to shift where there was a little bit of opportunity to go to therapy. It was important or whatever, but it was nowhere near the level of intensity that it is now, to where even in education, where if there's changes in behavior to a student, she's eating lunch by herself. Where are the teachers? She's literally not talking to anyone. Or where are all the adults in this picture helping her?
No, exactly. Again,
what is happening?
The adults, what is going on in this school? Like, there's nothing. It doesn't line up. Parents. I understand. No.
And, like, Charlie is a chief of police. He's a chief in law enforcement. Like, your daughter is, like, very clearly.
But imagine Charlie expresses how frustrated he is. And since his mental and emotional well-being is not that great, he doesn't know how to combat that. So he's like, I can't do it. Maybe your mom can fix you. And he even, like, in the end, when Edward comes back, he's like, no, I don't want him around. I don't want you to turn back into that person. You are finally starting, like, he's explained this to Alice, like, she was finally starting to look happy again. And then to have him come around, because he's seen as like Edward is the problem, which,
Right.
you know,
Not wrong.
fair assessment, not wrong entirely.
I mean, think about
And
it. If someone
honestly,
broke
as
your
a
daughter's
parent,
heart,
yeah,
that's what I was gonna
as
say.
a parent, no, I would be like, absolutely not. And have like, she's like, well, it's either me or him, and I'm gonna move out. It's like, the fuck you are? Like, I'm sorry. She's like, I'm 18. Like, okay. And an 18-year-old, like, yes, you're 18, legally can do stuff, but I'm sorry. When I was 18, I was doing stupid shit all the time. I moved out when I was 18. I'm like, oh God, why'd I do that? So trust me, at 18, you don't know shit. You may think you know shit, but you don't. So I just wish
Yeah, to each their
that
own.
part was highlighted more in the
Yeah.
movie.
That's fair. I think, yeah, I understand your point. She's definitely still, in high school. So it's like, come on.
Get your
But-
diploma. Education's important, girl. Get your diploma. Become a vampire later. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. So of course, again, in the movies versus the film, a lot of shortened dialogue. This is apparent between Bella and Edward, and it also very shortened dialogue in my mind compared to the relationship that she goes through with Jacob Black. And I think that it doesn't emphasize enough why, in the movie anyway, aside from the months going by, right? Like, she kind of just like gets dirt bikes or whatever and just like starts to hang out with him. And it still takes a while. Like, he tries to kiss her like multiple times. They go to the movies, whatever. It's kind of emphasized, but I feel like the depth of time and like the length of their relationship building truly isn't fully understood in the film.
3 months, 4 months that they
Mhm.
actually have this time, because 3 months she's in a catatonic state. And then Edward's gone for about 6 months. So she's like 3 months of just literally day in and day out, spending every day with him,
Yeah,
doing
every
the
day.
dirt
Yep.
bike thing,
Yes.
riding dirt bikes. They were at a dump they went dumpster diving for parts.
Yes.
And did that whole thing. And it's just not emphasized in the movie that, I referenced chapter 16, and this is like after she did the cliff diving thing, and she references how she wants to claim Jacob. Like, she's like, he's mine. I want to claim him. Like, that's not how it's expressed in the movie at all, because a lot of her feelings are internalized. She doesn't express them to Jacob for fear of
No.
like, hurting his feelings and not being enough for him. And we go back to that whole, like, she doesn't know how to be happy herself because she's always concerned about making other people happy. But
Right.
the movies just doesn't encompass that she literally wanted to stake claim to him. Like, he is mine. Like, that was a clear thought in her head. So the whole Edward versus Jacob thing is like, she was right before Alice showed up, she was literally about to go into this relationship. Like, literally, because he made parts of herself happy, even though she was not a whole version of herself. There was happiness there. So
Yeah. And there's, the way that it's revealed. We talked about this already, how he turns, and the story there for Jacob. The difference in the way that Laurent comes into the picture in the movie versus the book. There's a difference there as far as, and it's not even really explained what Bella's looking for so much. She's like going on a hike, and you finally realize that she's going to the meadow. But the book definitely describes that differently. Jacob's involved in that. There's other things that are not the same, that don't tie in.
Right.
And again, there's violence between the wolves that's not really depicted in the book versus the film. And even Italy, there's actually what I really liked about the movie, which I saw the difference now, is that Virgin America is the airline that they take from Forks, or from Seattle, I'm assuming, to Italy, and like that airline no longer exists. And I was like, oh, this is a nostalgic nod right here.
that's funny.
And also-
yeah.
Yeah. So it's Virgin Atlantic, which existed then but still exists today.
Mhm.
Virgin America was around for a while, but they ended up just switching over completely. Virgin ended up switching over to Virgin Atlantic exclusively. But I laughed at that when I saw the film. I was like, oh, that airline no longer exists. Specifically that segment of that airline. But anyway, there's there's, of course, more dialogue. And that's probably the biggest piece. I would say overall, there's a lot of similarities. I feel like they did better in New Moon than they did in Twilight, for sure. As far as that, I mean, the blue screen piece is not there anymore in New Moon, but
No.
I felt like the story itself, while yes, you're going to lose levels of depth, I felt like the overall story was still a lot closer to the book than the first movie, in my opinion.
And I honestly liked how the Volturi were depicted in the movie. I did like that because, you know, Bella's trying to explain all the things about the vampires, but she doesn't know a lot of it herself. So she's learning as we're learning. But in the movie, it was a little bit more direct. So I liked that. Getting into where the Volturi are in the book was a little bit, she had to like drop down a manhole and everything. It was a little bit different. And in the book, they're just kind of like, or in the movie, they're just kind of like,
elevator.
Okay, let's just go. Yeah, we're just gonna go in this elevator. It's gonna be fine. And there's no manhole involved and no dark, creepy tunnel. And that whole scene with all the Volturi, it was pretty true, except Edward fighting one of the henchman guys. That was, again, there's added drama to the movie, just so it keeps the watchers, you know, it's more enticing if there's more drama, if there's more fighting, you know, and all of that. But I did like how it was depicted in the movie. Not so much better than the book, even like while they left the Volturi and all those tourists were being hauled in. I feel like the tension in that was a lot more in the book because you felt her anxiety as she's like hearing the screaming, and it's literally multiple pages of her describing what's going on. Where in the movie, that's pretty quick.
Like seconds in the movie.
Right.
It's not a long time.
Which is horrific because she's like seeing each individual tourist go in and she's accounting for like the different tourists and how like this old lady's like, something's not right. Something's not right. But she's speaking in a foreign language and, you know, no one's going to listen to her. And then the screaming. And then they had to wait in the lobby. They literally had to wait in the lobby. Like, it was weird. They're like, oh, you can go now. Like, you know, let's just sit in a chair and listen to elevator music while we just wait and listen to these people get torn to pieces. But
fun. And then the other part that I thought was really different, of course, is the cliffhanger ending in New Moon film, because I love a good cut to black. Can I just say that? I really do. I love a good cut to black. I reread thrillers, you know, and I obviously like love to say I hate a cliffhanger ending, but really what I hate is waiting for the next book, right? So in this film, New Moon, you get a cut to black, which if done correctly is really fun. And I actually think that that's one of the things that I liked about the movie versus the book. And in the book, you get really good pacing between Edward and Bella, the dialogue about the vote of her turning and how everyone agrees that, the family, like the Cullens, agree that she will be turned. Even Carlisle finally comes around. And it's just, there's more to that in the book, which I liked. But when they put it on screen, I kind of loved that he asks her to marry him and she just goes, what? And it cuts to black. And when I tell you, Michelle, the way the theater just like screamed, oh my God, people lost their minds in the theater because a lot of the people like didn't read the book. Some of them did, but a lot of people loved the movie, like the first movie, right? And were obsessive about it. And now, not that long after, we have the next film in the franchise, and the way that the marketing for this was just like, it was like how Wicked was just recently earlier this year, where it was just everywhere. There was pink and green all over the place, like on everything. There's pink and green toothpaste, for God's sakes. It was like that with Twilight. It was just insane, and it was the same kind of thing, but like almost more, because there just wasn't a lot of other things that could compete with that level at all at the time. Like I said in the previous episode, you didn't have Netflix, you didn't have Amazon Prime, you didn't have, you know, Peacock and Hulu and, you know, all these things. It just didn't exist. Even the internet, the way it is now, you had MySpace, you know, okay. We didn't have smartphones in our hands. We had flip phones. It just was a different time in terms of media consumption. And it was insane. And I just remember that cliffhanger ending just being endlessly intense. And it was pretty great. So I liked that. I don't know about you.
I mean, I liked it in the movie. In the book, it's not that I didn't like the ending in the book because so that's not where it ends in the book. In the book, they actually
Right.
have this conversation. She's like, "What do you mean I have to marry you?" Or, "I can't
Mm-hmm.
marry you." I'm like, "Girl, you're going to spend your life with him. You can't
Yeah, it makes
marry
no
him
sense.
first?"
What do you,
Like, why?
hello.
We draw the line on the ring on the finger, not him
Right.
biting your neck and turning you into a vampire. Like,
Permanently.
that's okay.
For eternity.
But,
Yeah.
not to till death do us part. But, what? That doesn't,
Not ready to get
that
married
didn't
yet.
make sense
Like, make
to
it
me.
make sense.
I'm like, yeah, no. I was like, girl, what? How? Yeah. I was like, I does not compute. I cannot.
No.
I would be
Agreed.
like, okay, yeah, checks out. He wants to do things old fashioned way. Checks out. I'm about to change, like, my entire anatomy for you. Might as well pop a ring on it. Let's make it a
NBD.
fun one.
Yeah. Why
Yeah.
not?
So, but yeah, no, obviously that is the line. We do not get engaged. We turn into monsters for people. We do not get
Yeah.
engaged. At least while we're still in high school. So,
Yeah, honestly. So let's talk also about how some of the lines are changed. There's a couple different things that the Volturi are much more, I would think, a little bit more terrifying in the book, but I would say in the film they're pretty terrifying. I just don't think that it's conveyed as well, and it's probably because we just don't have as much time. But I mean, they just ate a whole bunch of people before you came in, so it's kind of like deciding how you want to relay that, and if you pick up on it.
I just liked
in the film
Dakota Fanning. I liked how.
Oh, yeah.
I know
I love
there's
her.
controversy. I liked her better on screen than the character written because on screen she's intense, and I feel like on paper, like Bella's just so shocked at everything. Like her intensity is just not as written, but you can see how Dakota Fanning is portraying how intense she's supposed to be. So I just really liked her. And Aro, he's like, his personality, he's like charming, but it's like a creepy type of charming. And I did like him better in the books. He had a lot more dialogue in the book in that.
Yeah.
But I feel like the actor did a good job in portraying like how it's like he's trying to be like overtly friendly, but it's like he doesn't have a smile in his eyes.
doesn't know
like,
how.
type thing.
No.
Yeah. So
It actually
just
reminds
comes
me of
off
when
as, like,
Voldemort-
weird.
It reminds me of when Voldemort goes to hug Draco in the last film of that whole franchise, and he's like, doesn't know how. Like, if you're watching me, I'm like doing the Voldemort hug, which is like a one-armed like pat. He just doesn't like have it in him to do this. I feel like that's also Arrow, is like he's been so far removed from humanity for so long that he doesn't know
3
how to
centuries?
like do it correctly. Yeah, he just like doesn't. He's basically almost made of stone.
not-
Like, it's
yeah.
just like, yeah, he just doesn't have it in him to be able to do that.
Or not
Agreed.
3 centuries, 3 millennia,
Oh, more
3,000
than that.
years.
3 millennia. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
3 millennia. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you wouldn't be able to be a human
Yeah.
after that.
No, I would think you would lose some of that, which he
Some
definitely
parts
does.
of your humanity.
Yeah. So let's talk about pop culture and what was going on in 2009 and how we kind of brushed on it a little bit, but this film, New Moon, ultimately grossed $7 million on opening day. Okay. This had taken the seat from The Dark Knight, if you remember The Dark Knight with Heath Ledger.
Oh,
iconic,
that was,
of course.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So this unseated The Dark Knight as largest grossing film ever. That is like the level of opening day commitment that readers had for this series. New Moon made just shy of $250 million on its opening weekend as a whole. So
Wow.
it's just the financials. Yeah. And it's literally like only a little bit over a year later between Twilight and New Moon, just for context. And so understanding like how massive this was is just, it didn't matter that Rotten Tomatoes rated it like extremely low. Nobody gave two shits about Rotten Tomatoes at that time. Nobody
The
cared.
critics can suck
They
it.
were all still going. Yeah, they were all still going to see New Moon. And just let's wind it back. So the infamous VMA situation with Kanye West and Taylor Swift happened the same year.
God,
What else
did it?
Yeah. Yep. What else
Oh
happened
my
this year?
God.
The summer of 2009, unfortunately, Michael Jackson passed away. So we all went through that from a pop culture perspective, the Black Eyed Peas in music were dominating. Boom Boom Pow and I Got a Feeling were like top songs of that time. Okay.
Boom, boom, pow.
Miley Cyrus, Party in the USA, 2009. Okay.
Still iconic.
Single
Up
Ladies. Oh, yeah. Single Ladies, Beyonce Single Ladies. Yeah. Huge at this time. So also, Barack Obama gets inaugurated at the beginning of 2009. So there just was like tons and tons of things that were going on. We also had the rise of reality TV. There was
Jersey Shore. Yes.
Thank you.
Jersey
Shore came out in
was-
2000. Jersey Shore came out in 2009. Yes.
That's been a minute since I've seen that.
Avatar, the very first film of Avatar was released in December of 2009. So there was just a lot happening at that time. New Moon and Twilight as a whole were a really, really big part of that. Lady Gaga's having her moment in 2009. Paparazzi, Just Dance, Poker Face. These songs are coming out. She's coming out. I mean, I think The Meat Dress must have been the next year, but either way, this is a huge time that is changing in pop culture. And Twilight was just at the pinnacle of this major millennial generation growth. And New Moon's just such a big part of that piece. So it's really important to emphasize where we were in time when these things were releasing. And I think it's such it speaks to the level of romantasy now. And I know we talked about that with Twilight, but I truly, truly believe that it was such a catalyst for seeing how a romantasy style book, because ultimately it's slated under fantasy, but I really believe Twilight as a whole is definitely like romantasy. It's definitely not adult, but it's definitely in what would be called romantasy now. I don't think that it's still under fantasy. I feel like it's definitely romantasy, but I think this is before romantasy really. It's before we titled romantasy as a genre. And I think this book is just the series as a whole is such a telling thing to producers, to the players that be, that this can make money, and a lot of it. There's a huge push for this that goes beyond the teenage reader. And evidently, this is where we see how popular Twilight is today. That's its social impact. I mean, there's, like I said in our first episode, influencers that are still solely reliant on Twilight bits that make them go viral. I mean, it's still a phenomena today. As we go into this next segment, this is our interview with two really big social media sensations who agree with us on this point. And we're going to welcome Farideh and Mandy. I'm really, really excited for you all to hear this. It's going to be super, super fun. Michelle, what are your thoughts?
There was just a fun time. Mandy's laugh, just hearing it live. It was a fun time. We talked New Moon, but we talked Twilight in general. We talked about smut. We talked about all different types of things, and I really enjoyed speaking with both of them. And yeah, it was a good time. I can't wait for you guys to give it a listen.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. All right, let's get into it.
Hi, Mandy and Farideh. Thank you so much for joining us for the first time on our podcast. We're so excited to have you tonight.
Thank you so much for having us. This is going to be so fun. We're going to talk about Twilight, my favorite topic ever.
Yep, I love talking books. Any books, all the books. I'm excited.
Awesome. We can't wait to dive in Twilight.
Yeah, we're really excited to have you guys here. If you could just very briefly state your handle or your persona on your social media, if you could, and then we'll get the party started.
All right. Well, my name is Mandy Brooke. I am Mandy Brooke Official on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. I do relatable comedy and parodies and songs and skits, and I dress up like an old person a lot, and I love making people laugh. So definitely check me out.
I'm Farideh, and my handle is I love Farideh, because I believe it's a mantra that everybody should just be really like taking in. And I do like music, and I talk about mom stuff and women equality, those kinds of things online. So come take me out if you want a good time.
Awesome.
Yeah, like a great time. Not a good, like a great time, because both of these ladies, a fucking great time. Let me just say, a great fucking time. So first off, because we're talking Twilight, we're doing this whole series on Twilight. Twilight's 20 years old this year, which is quite literally not allowed because that makes me realize my own age. But
Wait,
it is 20 years old.
I did not know that. That is crazy. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry for interrupting. Oh my God, now I'm having an existential
No,
crisis.
you're fine.
Can I go?
2005. We're going to take a journey to Forks, Washington, 2005. Are we ready? Because there's lots of trees and sparkly things in the forest.
Fog.
Yes.
Rain.
I got my axe. Let's go.
Yes. And you know who else? Can't forget Anna Kendrick, massive star that came out of this. How many stars came out of this whole thing? It's just it's too much to comprehend and understand. But 20 years of Twilight. So we'll start off with question 1. Here we go. What did you love most about Twilight as a whole? And you can hit us with anything. You can go all, books, you can go movies, whatever you want.
So I think my favorite thing about Twilight novels is the atmosphere that Stephenie Meyers creates. Like, I know that Stephenie Meyers gets like a lot of flack for her writing. I don't give a shit. When I started reading like Twilight, like I was just enamored with the story, and she really creates a world. Can I say shit?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, you can curse.
Say whatever the fuck you want.
This is rated R. So, yeah, we have a
That's rated
disclaimer,
R.
whatever. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Shit,
You're good.
motherfuckers like a dick. So I was really excited. I was really excited to possibly see some sort of sex scene with Robert Pattinson. No, but like my favorite thing about
I mean,
the-
I was anticipating that. I'm sorry. I was reading.
Okay.
I'm like, where's the... Oh, wait, they're 17.
Same.
Girl.
So,
Girl, well, I was 17
What?
and I really wanted to know, because I was a little virgin back then. I was like, ooh, look at this vampire. Like, I didn't fucking know. But anyway, I really loved like the atmosphere that she created, and even like just the mundane details of Bella. Like, she cooks for Charlie every night because her mom was cray-cray and she needed to learn to cook. Like, her entire weekend where she finds out what Edward is, and she gets up at 5 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday. Like, so Virgo, right? She's such a Virgo. So much like me. And I just completely related to her. And I was like, okay, I can fuck with this bitch. I like her. And we'll see what happens. And she was just as obsessed with Edward as I was obsessed with Twilight. So it kind of made sense. That's what my favorite part of the book. It made me feel things.
And there really wasn't like much available then. Right now it's like, you can read hundreds of books kind of in this genre, but there's not really like anything available. I was a book person. I'm like fully into the book. I also like love books that like get your attention and draw you in immediately. And I think that's what like one of the things that it was. So just, yeah, it was a very captivating story, and it was like completely different than anything you'd seen. It like, 'cause, your old sure, there was vampire stuff, but they're very old. Like, it wasn't like so contemporary. I think it was really exciting. And of course, yeah, like we were really young at the time, or I was really young at the time. So I really, like, I was in the story. So I really liked it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, same. And so for Michelle, this is actually her first time reading the book. She's never read the books.
But
And
I
so-
would
I know.
fucking
When
give
she told me that,
what I would fucking give to read that series again for the first time. Oh my God, I'm so jealous of you. So jealous of you. How do you like it?
I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know.
as a 31-year-old mother, I have a lot of issues with Bella's behavior and how the school operates. There would be
Word.
so many lawsuits. So I wish I did read this as like a 13-year-old, because I
Yes, you do.
understand that. I understand the hype. I mean, I do. But as me present, I can't visualize myself being in Bella's shoes.
but when she told me, Mandy
Yeah.
and Farideh, when she told me she had never read this, I almost fell out of my chair. I was talking to her because I was referencing Twilight. I've referenced it so much on the show, and I'm always thinking that she's like, yeah. And I'm like,
Because
Right?
I watched
Like,
the
I'm
movie,
thinking she
so I
knows.
understood.
I wish I could go back and read these books again at 17 years old. Maybe not so much as a 30-something-year-old woman, but
Yeah.
because I can see how problematic it is. I mean, he's like 180 years old and she's, like a little cute 17-year-old. Like, what?
Yeah. No.
But at the time,
I like
he
watches her sleep. I'm sorry. Like,
he
what?
looks 17, okay?
He-
Well,
But
this
he's
is why
watching
I
her
re-
sleep, and
you
she's
know-
like, I sleep talk? You're not concerned about him watching you sleep besides you talking in your sleep. Okay, right.
You know
okay.
what? Here's the thing about that, though. It's kind of maybe this informed like my relationship choices in the future, but I kind of dug that. I was like, you gotta sneak into my
And some
room.
people
Like
We're
you're like,
supposed to
why-
read to avoid toxic things. We read so we don't do toxic things in real life. We don't read so we reenact them.
no, I'm not a
But
toxic
this is why
person. But
I refuse to like
be
read
toxic.
this book ever again. I'm like, I loved
Oh.
the books when I was 13, but I don't want to read it again when I'm like in my 40s because I'm like, the magic of that and the enjoyment I had of that is just, it would be not the same trying to do it again. Try it now. I think I would just like yourself, Michelle. I'd be like, what? Excuse me? No, I don't think so. And I just don't want to do that. I'm like, I want to, you know, there's certain things from your childhood you want to preserve. You want to
Preserve,
remember
yeah.
perfectly.
You know what? I disagree.
Do we feel that way about the movies?
You
I'll
feel that way
reread
about the movies? Yeah, well, I believe the book was better than the movies. I watched the movies, but I didn't finish them all because I felt like they couldn't hold a candle to the books.
Mhm.
Okay.
I definitely
Okay.
agree with
All
that.
right.
I'm already seeing that in book 1. Yeah, I agree because I like Bella in the book. I thought Bella in the movie was just a little flat. Like she had one personality,
So
one
broody. So broody.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And all
And
the
in the
close
book,
ups.
she's like sarcastic and she has dry humor, which
Yeah.
I vibe with. And she has a big personality in the books.
Very much so.
Yeah, I agree.
Kristen Stewart, you know, she was a mouth breather, kind of like constantly in the book or in the movies, and I just couldn't vibe with it. But I really loved the book so much because like it was satirical. She had a humor and personality in the books, and I really wish that was kind of portrayed a little bit more. Love Kristen Stewart though; she's my girl crush. No hate.
Yeah, no. And well, how young was she too, right? She was like, didn't have a
And
huge
this was like
hit
her
at this
first
time. They were all
yeah, this was
so
her first big
young.
movie.
She was 17.
I mean, she
and
still
you-
seems pretty broody.
This is true.
very much so.
Absolutely true. Okay,
All right.
so dislikes then. We like it. What were things that either and it can be like now versus then, however you want to take that question. Did you have any dislikes about the series as a whole? And you can
Book
pick
4.
any
The
kind of
entire
which way
book
you want to
4.
answer it.
I'm done with no book 4.
Okay.
That needs to be rewritten and reimagined in my mind. I mean, the movies were what they both
What would
were
be
like,
yours? What would you do with book 4?
we can talk about, well, if we want to talk about fan fiction, what I would really do with book 4, we can. But I would I mean, in the day and age of 2025, with the kind of books that I read now, I mean, it's a moment for a why choose book. Fourth, why choose opportunity? I was like, I mean, if book 4 was written now, I'd assume AI wrote it. I was like, this is really bad. And I do not know why she's doing this is awful. So I would just, it's a why choose moment. That's what I wanted out of that book. And that's where I should have been.
Girl
And
for
the,
my own
and the
heart.
movie, very specific with all the close-ups of the face, always. But I now, even though I would never go back and watch them, it was such a different stylistic choice. Like, I don't think we've ever seen a movie made with such close-ups and like the slow zooms constantly. So they've got a special place in my heart for like a little bit of cringe is always good.
You know, the best things are on the other
think
side
that's
of
where they're, like-
cringe.
That's true. I mean, that's why we're on the internet. You know, the price of our success is cringe and embarrassment.
Yes.
But I also think too, like, right, that's kind of where it has this culty following. You have accounts on social media that literally just reenact scenes from Twilight who have millions of followers. That's all they do. They do clips of Twilight and like that's their fame is like really making fun of these films. I'm like, that's when you know you've reached like cult classic fandom. That's next tier of fandom. There's like levels to this, I feel like, with books and series, not said at the same time, where you have these different levels of how far something has gone. And Twilight's like tipped the scale into like cultish phenomena of people. There's some guy on TikTok recently who went viral for a post, and I'm sorry, maybe it's Instagram. He is the Appalachian Twilight. Have you seen this guy?
No.
No.
Like the Appalachian Trail Twilight, he like has like a hillbilly version of like if it happened in the woods in like middle of nowhere, America, and I died.
And
it was
you know
so
what? That's
hysterically
believable.
funny.
I
But
think that could
technically,
happen in
didn't
Appalachia.
Twilight happen in the middle of
No,
nowhere?
Edward has a mullet. He has a mullet in this version.
Bella.
And like a really thick Southern accent.
Bella, I have something to tell you. I think you're you smell real nice, and you need to stay away from me.
Super pretty.
You know who that sounds like? It sounds like Bill Compton from the other series I loved later in life that I attribute to Twilight loving, True Blood.
Oh,
Did anyone watch True Blood?
Oh, yeah.
'Cause I feel
Oh, yeah.
like
I did not watch True Blood, and I tried watching it, and I did not really get into it, and I don't know why. Maybe, okay, here's the thing, too. I really like the teenage vampires more so than the adult vampires. I like the Vampire Diaries. I like, because, you know,
I love that.
I was into it when I was a teenager,
Yeah.
so I guess that's why, that's what it was for me. Did you watch True Blood?
Well, I got some adult vampire recs for you,
Yeah,
Mandy,
yeah.
that are gonna just rock your world.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
Don't
I
worry.
think
I
Farideh probably has some really good adult vampire that are just gonna
About how
rock
you
your
like,
socks
what do you
for
mean
sure.
you don't like vampire? What do you feel about Blood and Ash or The Serpent and the Wings of Night? But I was like, oh wait, I don't think you've read those.
I haven't.
You haven't read those?
You know The Serpent and the Wings of
You
Night?
have to.
I haven't because
That was our very first episode ever.
guys, here's the thing. Twilight fucked me up. I can't. Okay, I will try for you guys to expand upon across my Twilight bounds. But I loved it so much that I couldn't read about another fucking vampire. Edward has
Wow.
been my heart
It
forever.
sounds like a real like TSN turning point in your life that like which it's like basically Edward was like your first vampire love and all vampires are then compared to Edward.
Ruined.
Whereas for me it's been enough time that I was able to move on.
Yeah, I have moved on. I am in limerence for many, many years. No, I always say that Twilight, listen. Twilight was my first heartbreak ever. New Moon is my favorite book ever. This is funny that we're on the New Moon episode, and it's a new moon tonight, by the way. Like
Ooh.
when I read that
Didn't know
book, when Edward left that bitch in those woods, I was devastated. I canceled plans with my friends that night because I was crying so hard. Girl, you don't know. You don't understand. It was I'm obsessed with Twilight. So, you know what? I'll read whatever the fuck you give me, but I loved it so much.
On that part, when that happened, I had never read a book before that did pacing like that breakup. And then they did it again in the film, which was a great nod. But when in the book, and Michelle, you'll be ready for this, but in the movie, I had never seen a blank page with just a month on it, ever, in the books. When they were trying to talk about heartbreak, and at that time, like a first breakup, and truly for a teenager in a breakup, speaking for someone who's been there, it literally is, there is nothing else. Your world has imploded.
Yes.
And I think the way that she wrote that, where it was just a word on the page, for me, that was peak. I had never read anything like that had embodied the feeling of heartbreak with so little in my life. I'd never read something like that before. That was a first for me.
And that's what was
I don't know if it was literary genius, coincidence. I don't know. I loved it.
I loved how they did it in the movies too. Like they really did do the blank pages with the one word in the movie with the "it's a possibility." Like it was very well done. I really love. If I had to choose my favorite movie out of all of them, it was probably New Moon because of that. Even though Jacob has that like god awful line, "I'm gonna be very angry," like with Alice at the end. Okay, sorry, but yeah, I agree, 100%.
I
Okay.
haven't read the books in so long. Like I just love, Mandy, that you're so knowledgeable, that you're quoting it. Like the moments in it, I'm like, I don't know if I remember the spirit of the books more than I do like specific scenes. I'm like, oh, right. And I love, like, you know what, Danny, what you said about that the page in 1 month. I don't think I've seen that done since, really. Like where that's kind of like art, where one page and 2 words or one word could be like moving. And I don't think I've seen that since, but of course I read a lot on my Kindle, so I don't know, maybe that's what I'm missing out.
Same, girl. I'm a Kindle girly right here. Absolutely. I read my books way faster on Kindle than a physical book. But anyway, that's a topic for another day. Okay, so I think we kind of covered this, but would you consider a reread now? When was the last time that you read it? And when did you first read it?
I
All right, so
reread
we
it.
know that
Oh, go.
I will never return. I will never return to the books. And that's because I just think it would ruin, like, I have too much wisdom now. But I read it in my early 20s, and it was a great time to read it. And it was like a perfect time. But now with 500 books, I'd appreciate what that book did for us as a collective consciousness. I think that answered our question.
I really think that Stephenie Meyer,
Yeah.
she put some like voodoo on those books to make people so obsessed with them. But I would definitely reread them. The last time I reread them was 2020 during COVID. And then it was right before. I was like, I have a feeling that I need to reread these books. And I had all of the same feelings that I had when I was, 17 years old. I was like, this book is as good as I thought it was. And then Midnight Sun came out. And I was like, it was like that was my first manifestation, I think. I talk about manifesting a lot. I manifested Midnight Sun being released during COVID. And it was a really good moment for me. It was heaven, for sure.
Okay, so it didn't like to go back, so many years later, it didn't ruin it for you.
No, God, no. It actually, it was nostalgic because being 17 was like my favorite year of all time, like so far in my life, because I felt so free and so, yeah, like 17 is such a great age, I think, anyway. I had a great time. I don't know about y'all, Twilight was such a huge integral part. And honestly, Twilight was the only thing it was the first book that I read that made me read books. I never read books before I read Twilight. And it was because I watched that freaking movie in the theater. And everybody had been reading these books like in high school. And I was watching all the goth kids and the drama kids, theater kids, reading these books with the apple on it. And so when I saw like the movie trailer, I was like, oh, that's the book that everybody's reading. I went to the movie theater and I saw that parking lot scene where Edward saved Bella. And I was like, I need to read these books. And I read like 100 pages that first night. And to me, that was a lot back then. And I was like, I can't stop reading this. And I read all 4 of those books in less than a month. And my mom was like, who are you? Who are you? I'm like, you know what? I'm obsessed. That's who I am.
Did you all do you remember the movies like coming out? Because I do.
Yes.
Like vividly. I remember the hype surrounding like each one all the way up until like Breaking Dawn parts 1 and 2. And then we like had the DVDs, for those who are not millennials, like this is not a show for you. But anyway, kidding. I'm kidding. Anyone can listen. But if you don't remember a DVD, this will not be helpful for you. But they all came out on the DVD. And back then you had like exclusive DVD editions that had like little extra things and deleted scenes. And I had the Breaking Dawn extra extended edition with the deleted scenes. And the way that I can remember being in college later, once like a lot of these came out, and I don't know if the last Breaking Dawn was out by then, but I remember being in college and like being extremely hungover, sitting on the couch with my roommates and watching the first Twilight, and us just all just like, eye makeup smeared and just like sitting there watching this movie and just feeling like quoting it, the spider monkey scene that I just wish didn't exist, just quoting this movie and like the nostalgia of it and make, kind of laughing at it as we're enjoying it and just having that comfort of all of us knowing these films and these characters like so intimately, because it was so massive. It was a huge part and continues to be a part of pop culture. It's just incredibly recognizable. I think that is like one of the most positive memories I have of it is the rewatchability, the comfort of it. Kind of, it has that vibe.
I remember the New Moon premiere. I went to Nashville for it, and I was with my friend Kara Lord Ertz. If you're listening to this, Kara. And I remember getting the cup, getting the fucking shirt. When that New Moon popped on the screen, everybody was like the theater was electric. It was my Star Wars.
You screamed. Oh my God.
It was electric. And
I saw Eclipse in theaters. Same thing.
God, my nipples are hard just thinking about it. I was so excited. Oh my God. It was the best time. I'm just kidding. No, but it was an amazing
It was so
moment.
good.
It was great. But you guys asked me to be here.
Okay.
I told you. I was like, guys, you're going to see a very unhinged version of me when I'm talking about the fucking Twilight, okay? I want to go to Forks, Washington so bad.
I'm here
Okay.
for it.
No,
Wait.
I love this because I
You
didn't.
too. We should go together.
We should go.
That would be so fun.
I would go.
One thing,
It would be.
But
oh,
I
go ahead.
love the hype because I didn't experience that. I wasn't into vampires at all. I was Hunger Games. That's what like kind of got me into reading Harry Potter. So I love the enthusiasm because I didn't get to experience that, and I didn't even watch Twilight until I had a newborn, and I'm like, I need to watch something. I'm going nuts in here, and it's just me and her all day. And so I'm like, my husband is the one that suggested, he's like, why don't you put on Twilight? I'm like, okay, cool. So I put it on. Yeah, my husband watched all of them before I did. So
You know
why.
what?
and
He
I
loved
did
it.
not know
oh,
that.
these aren't. Yeah. Yeah, he enjoyed the movies, and I'm like reading because I'm reading next to him, and I'm like, oh, I didn't remember this being in the movies. He's like, oh yeah, you didn't remember that? Like he like remembers all these things. I'm like, okay, I didn't know you liked Twilight that much, but okay.
You know what?
He was fangirling. He was
man
in your
of
shoes essentially.
He was majorly fangirling. I remember this very popular kid in high school that was like so bro, and he was reading New Moon, and I remember like, oh my god, he's like, I'm not gonna say his name, but it's the most popular kid name you've ever heard in your life. I'm like, I cannot believe he's literally reading Twilight. Like it spanned the generations, not generations, the high school classes, I guess.
Gender gap. Yeah.
I will say this too. You asked about dislikes, and I'm going to reverse real quick. The thing that I really wish about the movies that happened was I really liked the first movie in the sense it was very indie, and that's how I kind of felt when I was reading the books. And I really wish that they had treated the rest of the movies like an indie film. But I really wish that the first book or the first movie was more like the book. Like that treatment, even with the blue hue and everything, like I really liked the tone of that movie so much. And I really wish that it would have just been more like the book a little bit. Also, I have to ask you guys something. It's been bothering me forever. You ready?
Ask away.
Huge plot hole in Twilight. How on earth did Bella have her period while she was around Edward? That was the first thing I freaking thought about
This.
when I was reading these books.
Me too. I thought about this too.
And in a book,
I was
if it
like-
was written now, there would be a moment with that period.
She can't wear
You
no
can smell
pads
it.
or nothing,
Absolutely.
Jesus. She can't do nothing like that. She's got to keep that in her like forever, like a diva cup or whatever. No, he would know.
They don't. It's like not talked about.
It needs to be talked about.
But yes,
I think
massive.
it was a massive plot hole.
It does.
I believe
Yeah. 100%.
wasn't a part of the plot at all. But he probably left school though during those times. It's like, Bella, I'll see you in a week.
I left school a lot. The boy was never in class ever. I'm just leaving after lunch. I'm sorry. Do you have a note? Your attendance must be awful. After like after 10, you're not supposed to get your
This
grade.
is why.
Like,
But he's so
this is why I have
uncanny.
issues.
This is why Michelle's having a hard time.
Well, you know,
Like,
he's a
one time
vampire.
when-
Michelle.
Remember when she passed out, right? Right. But remember when she passed out and she like had to go to the nurse and whatever? And Edward's like, I'll just take her home. I'll check her out. I'm like, I'm sorry. I don't think you're on her list. You are not her parent or guardian. And like the entire time, like, and the nurse just agreed? I would call administration. Like, so I'm having a hard time with this.
You
Right,
know what?
I
It's a
know it's
different
17, like,
time.
yeah.
It was a different time for sure. And I equate it to being in a small town. But you have to think about it. When Stephenie Meyer was writing these books, it was probably late 90s, early 2000s, like probably in the 90s. So
Right.
you have to think about like
Well, you
what
know
was
what?
going on. Go ahead.
She wrote that manuscript in 3 months.
Really?
So it
Wow.
was likely.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, she wrote that manuscript. I was just looking it up. So it was definitely not like, I mean, obviously she would have had to submit it and then get it approved and edited and but I don't think it would have been late 90s. It definitely would have been. But I mean, yeah, still. I mean,
Well-
it's still early 2000.
It's early 2000s for sure because I'm remembering Linkin Park's album Meteora or something was like the inspiration. She was
2005. 4.
2004. She was listening,
Hold
or
on.
not Meteor, the first one. And that song, One Step Closer to the Edge, and I'm about to break. That whole album she was listening to when she was writing the manuscript. I think I remember reading this on our
Holy cow.
website. Yeah.
Hybrid Theory.
Hybrid Theory. That's
Hybrid
what it
Theory
is.
came out in 2000.
And that is the CD that Edward gives Bella in the car in the first book. Remember when he gives her a CD to listen to? Oh, I'm listening to this. It's Linkin Park.
Right, and it's different than the classical music that he's been listening to,
Mm-hmm.
that she was used to.
Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome.
And you know what? I just thought about how, for me, Linkin Park is, and I don't know if you guys listen to Sleep Token now,
Mm-mm.
but I feel like there's a lot of, so after this, they're a massively huge UK based band. They're called Sleep Token, and they are a huge part of like dark romance right now. Like a lot of the dark romance authors will use this band a lot. And so for me, when I listened to them the first time, I was like, wow, this is like a really modern Linkin Park,
Ooh.
their sound of especially their new album. But a little bit heavier, like there's a little bit more heavy metal-ish in parts of the song, but they mix rap, they mix like all these different they just do something really cool with their sound. And I was like, this reminds me of what Stephenie Meyer did, which was really new. This is where I think that cultish thing comes from, is and the generation of readers, especially even readers now, like who read all the new genres and all the different ways that genres have just expanded, especially through romance and fantasy romance, and how Twilight was such a massive critical component to that success for other authors. And, you know, people can say whatever they want about Stephenie Meyer and however they, you know, she wasn't this great author or whatever, but I call bullshit because look at what she created.
Yeah.
There is something kind of recipe to what she's done that has made reading beloved for so many millions more of people because of what she created.
Yeah. I think that everything that we're, you know, I think that we're reading now, as, you know, when you're getting into that fantasy romance, the dark romance, I think that they're all offshoots of this, you know. I mean, a Hunger Games is in there too, like the Hunger Games. Well, not that I think that this is just like what the internet talks about. It's like, yeah, like it began something that we're continuing to enjoy. And like, you know, sometimes things are popular because they're good. Like, you know, sometimes it's like, it's not about the prose, it's about the characters, it's about the plot, it's about the tension. And that's totally reasonable.
It's about seeing yourself as Bella. I think so many young girls, I did, saw themselves as this introverted girl who is seen. She's seen by this guy that to her is like this way out, and that's the biggest thing ever. And like, think about it. Think about Bella's life, right? Her mom kind of forgets about her a little bit, and then you have Charlie, who doesn't hover, quote unquote. But as like a 17-year-old girl, you're really not getting any support. You know, that's a very interesting like thing to think about. And so like, I'm a product of divorced parents. My parents were divorced. And so when I was reading this book, I related very heavily to her and feeling really introverted, loving to read, loving, you know, all these things. And Bella's seen. She is seen, and it becomes, she's the main character. And I think that was something that a lot of authors do is when you ask, so when we covered Quicksilver, which is a massive book, when we would ask about fan casting, nobody could cast the female main character, but we all had picks for the male main characters because we're her.
Oh my gosh, that is so true. Yeah, like who gives a fuck about the girl characters most of the time? It's all about the guys because we are the girl characters, like in our minds. It's so true. And Bella,
but then when the woman gets cast though, I am on her team
100%
till the end. Whoever ends up getting cast, but until that point, I am also her. But then when she does get cast, girl, I am on your camp forever.
For sure.
Let's do this. You're gonna kill it. You're gonna kill this role.
Yeah. But Stephenie Meyer, a lot of our authors definitely owe Stephenie Meyer's their career, for sure. Because they wouldn't, I don't think half books nowadays would not be written if Twilight wasn't written. She really changed. She changed
Or wouldn't be bought.
my world.
Okay, so Team Edward or Team Jacob?
Team Edward,
The
all
real
the way.
question. Let's get into the meat and potatoes.
Team Edward.
The real question.
If you're Team Jacob, I fear for your life. I don't know about it. Who doesn't
Well, it's very
want?
different. because I just believe that book 4 shouldn't exist. And therefore, I believe that they should it should be a why choose romance with 2 men in her life. I feel there is no team. It should be the love triangle, but then now book 4 exists, so I cannot be Team Jacob because I do not like what happened. So obviously I'm Team Edward, but in my mind, it should be
You could be Team Charlie now.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
God, he is so
Yeah.
hot in those movies. I really realized I was a woman. I was a woman when I realized that I was attracted to Bella's dad, for sure. Like, all the way.
You're like,
the
oh,
way.
wait. Yeah.
But I'm Team Edward
Carlisle,
because
hey.
it's Carlisle, goodness. But I'm Team Edward because, like, I think every single girl wants to be called like a demon that has been summoned from their worst like fears. You know what I mean? Like, that's what Edward told Bella. And as soon as he said that, I was like, you know what? That's what I want somebody to say. You're a demon summoned from my worst nightmares. Like, yeah, that's what I want. I'm here to fuck up your life, and I want you to kill me. But kind of. But like, you're just like, you need to be strong enough to like not kill me, but you just want me so bad that you want to fucking kill me. Like, that's what I want. That's all.
Are we reading dark romance? I just feel like I have some recommendations for you, that I think you'd really enjoy.
For my mental health, I'm probably shouldn't. No, I'm just joking. No, I want it all. Like, give it all to me. And men be damned. Healthy relationships be damned. I want to be toxic. At least in my books for
I
sure.
definitely have some book recs for you. Yes, I do.
But yeah, dark romance for sure. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, tell us your favorite theories or insights about the Twilight Saga. Anything, book, movie, whatever your favorite is.
The theory that I love the most, and obviously this has been very much told in the media, that 50 Shades of Grey was based on Twilight, or it was a fan fiction, which I never read, but I think that alone is very, very cool, and it's probably one of my favorite like offshoot theories. But also the Leah, Sam, and Emily love triangle. Like, I need to know more about that. And Michelle, you're not there yet.
Okay.
And you'll get there in this next book. But like, Leah is a wolf, okay? She's in the pack. She's the only girl that's in the alpha pack with Jacob and his, people. And then Sam is the alpha, and they were together, but then he imprinted on her cousin, Emily. Like, I want to know about that backwoods thing going on. Like, that's a very, very interesting story that Stephenie Meyer, quite frankly, didn't get into enough for me.
So
Okay.
a fanfic.
Yeah, I need a fan fiction of
is
that.
desired.
Mm-hmm. Why choose for Sam? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I think what we're seeing is that there's not opportunity for some other Why Choose standalone that could be extension of the Why Choose book that I really want.
Exactly.
Yeah, Stefan, if you're listening, I really do think you have an opportunity with your base that has grown up. I'm just going to put it out there.
I think she
You
doesn't
have
want.
a massive opportunity.
I don't think she wants anything to do with the series anymore. But sorry, go ahead, Fairy.
No, I think you're right. I mean, I think we're all like that though as artists, like everything you did like a year ago or 2 years ago or 5 years ago, you're like, I'm so over it. And you're like, send me the check, but I'm not going back there. I'm going forward, right? Like, that's what we do artistically. So probably she's like, nah, I'm good. That's what fan fiction's for.
Yeah. Well, and two, I wonder, like, it took over. She was a mother of 3 when she wrote these books.
Yeah.
And I think about that now, right? I'm a wife and mother, and she was talking to this with her sister. I have a brother, but she was talking about this idea with her sister. Her sister convinces her, yeah, go for it. She goes for it. And it quite literally like took over everything. And that's great. Like, she sold her books and all that, but like, I don't think even she could have. And at this time too, it's really so critical and to remember 2005 and how now you have all these forms of media. Now you have Netflix and you have Amazon and you have your TV, your regular TV channels, and you have HBO and you have all these things. Then you really didn't have the level of media now.
Mhm.
It just there you have so many more books now and all these competing series and just so much more to choose from. Then you had like Harry Potter had that level of fandom, and then you have Twilight.
Yeah.
And it was that, and I just can't imagine how her whole world, and there's just no escaping this for Stephenie Meyer. She tried to put out a couple different books, and it's like she just can never get away from it. Like it took over everything.
We don't know about it.
Yeah, she might be under a different pen name. But even so, the books that she came out with after the fact were relatively, like, on a normal level, very successful. Like, very for any author.
The Host was great.
Yeah, The Host was really cool. And I think she put out, like, a couple more books. I didn't read them because I was obsessed with Twilight, so I guess that proves the point that you just made.
But I just imagine, like, to your point, Farideh, it's like she wants to move on, but nobody else does. And it's 20 years, and we're talking about it now, our little old corner of the internet, and we're still talking about this art that she can't ever. And I just have to imagine, like, is it a good memory, all of that happened? Would she ever wish, like, maybe it didn't go to that point? I just wonder, and she could never say that out loud. She would just be completely ripped apart if she ever admitted something like that. But I just wonder sometimes, like, how it changed her everything, how she mothered, how her whole everything had to have just shifted.
I think
I don't know.
I think
it's mind blowing to me.
I think certain people, authors and artists, they're here to serve a very specific purpose, and she very much channeled something that needed to be in the zeitgeist. I don't even know if I'm using zeitgeist in the best way, so whatever. I'm just trying to sound smart.
Sounds good to me.
But I really think that, like, no matter if she wanted it or not, it was going to happen, and she was going to be the channel for it. Because even the way that she came up with the story, she dreamt about Edward and Bella in the field, and she had to write it. And that's what artists, like, do. They get the inspiration, it's almost channeled through them, and then they have to get it out there. So she had no choice. She was born on this earth to write this story, but also obviously mother her children and stuff. But this is a huge child that birthed so many more careers, so many music careers. I mean, like, I would die every day. Wait, like, that girl, she, like, Kristen Pereri or whatever. Anyway, I'm getting
That was
into
like
details.
that was like the wedding song for like 5 years after that came out.
Oh my God.
Yep.
Waiting for her dress.
Yep.
The way people were like, what's the dress gonna look like? The production studio had to, like, hide the dress because so many people wanted to know what Bella's dress was gonna look like in the movie.
You know, screw the king and queen.
I know we're trying to forget book 4 exists, but
yeah, like,
literally,
it was all about that. Now in modern times, I'm waiting for the Akatar wedding that Reese interrupts, but that's for another day.
Us too. They're right behind. I mean, they're right behind both of us. They're right there. But does this exist without Twilight? Does this fandom exist without Twilight?
No, I think it was just she began something that we needed, and I think I think you're right. I think it not only does it. The other thing I'm guessing it did. I don't know about the business. Is it probably proved there is a market for this, right? Like, because sometimes it's like whenever there's something that's kind of like marketed for women, people are like, that doesn't exist. Nobody wants to read that, and then people are like, oh, I guess they really do. And so, I mean, even Sarah J. Maas had challenges with Akatar and getting it placed on shelves and things like that, or maybe it was Throne of Glass. I can't remember, but yeah, I think Stephenie Meyer's really helped us all created a whole market.
Yep, she had a very specific purpose on this planet for sure. Thank you, Stephenie Meyer. Love you, mean it.
Yeah, we do too, for sure. Okay, on that note, a word has been created to identify a lot of these books that you all have taken and creatively done something really cool with. And I want to talk about smut specifically. I want to understand your song, where that inspiration came from, but also, like, the word itself and how you all have, like, I think created something really positive with a word that has been misused, in my opinion. But I would love to hear both of your take on the song that you wrote and the viralness of it and that the whole thing that ties to reading and books.
Andy and I have never met in person or whatever. We just started, like, talking to each other online. It's unusual to find somebody else who, like, writes songs online, like, that's something different. we both thought of the idea of having a smut song like separately, and then Mandy was like, we should write a smut song, and I was like, I was thinking about writing a smut song. That makes total sense. And I just had the idea of like smut, dragon smut, fairy smut, dudes with bat wings. And then when we got together, had the idea of like a story as well. So that's like the
Make
second
me a
verse is all
fairy. Sorry, go ahead.
The way I want to read that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that I was like, there's two versions of the song, one with Mandy, one without, and they each have like a different story. Because I was like, I really want people to enjoy the second verse so much that they're like, I would read that.
I
Yeah.
loved.
And you had like a lot of comments to that too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That people were like, hey, where can I find that book you guys were talking about? And you're like, I just literally made it up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, well, where can we find it? Like,
Fairy, we have to write that book, I think.
Yeah. I mean, for sure. I mean, it's basically written itself.
I mean, Conolingus with a guy named Rizel.
and you come
like,
back
come
on the show. Why not? And you come back on the show and you talk to us about it then when you guys are big Stephenie Meyer based fan, your fandom is out there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We'll be back to back, like posing at the Smut Con. There should be a Smut Con. Why isn't there?
Why isn't there?
I think there has to
There
be
should be.
something.
Maybe they just don't want to call it smut. That's the whole
You know
thing.
what? Screw everyone that doesn't like that word. I think that smut is a very cool word, and it's been around for a long time. It's been a negative word, but I think we're just like, we're taking it back. Okay? It doesn't have to
That's
be
right.
a dirty, well, it is dirty, but it doesn't have to be so looked down upon. Girls like sex too, and we like to read about it, and that's fine. Guys can watch whatever they want on their online time, and I want to read a book about it.
And nobody was hurt in the process of it. And it was entirely consensual. And it was entirely about her
This part.
partner. I was like, of course. There's nothing. Yeah, it's great. My sex life has improved greatly. I've really deep dived into.
Fuck yeah.
It has been very
right.
horny.
Same. That's exactly right.
Exactly.
I was like, what are you reading tonight? What you got going on over there on that Kindle? No, you keep reading. No, I'm good. Yeah, that's fine. I'm like, okay.
It
thank
does
you.
help with dirty talk.
It's great.
It gives you more words. Like A Court of Silver Flames.
Definitely gives you more creativity.
Oh, yes. Definitely a lot of creativity. But Twilight, I mean, obviously didn't give that type of creativity because obviously didn't have sex until the very end, which I actually really dug. I dug it. I dug
Yeah.
that they waited.
But at that time, that too was like for the base that was reading. I mean, we were all really young, but it also was of its time.
Yeah.
I think that was
Yeah.
And also, I think
appropriate. She's 17 when she starts. Like, you don't.
I was not about
It's
to say
pretty-
it.
yes.
Like 104.
But he was a virgin too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I'm like, okay, vampires are so sexualized, and 90 years, he didn't have any. Okay.
And
It's the
what
romance.
Doing that was so exciting.
You know damn well that those girls in
She waited
Alaska,
90 years for you.
those vampires in Alaska were throwing that in front of him. Like twerking in front of him, probably throwing it back. He was he was not about it. He was he died every day
The
waiting for
Denali
Bella.
vampires.
What happened?
What?
Those Alaska girls.
Are you talking about the Denali vampires
Those
in Alaska?
those
Is that
Denali-
the ones we're talking about? Oh yeah.
Those Denali girls were smut sluts throwing it back on Robert Pattinson, and he was not having it. He wanted Bella.
I understand the romantic element. It's just, so I'm reading this alongside like listening to like Caught Up right now.
Oh.
And so I'm like, where is this is a
Which is
completely
a very
different
Mandy for
book.
your understanding.
Wait,
This is a
Oh,
very
yeah.
different experience.
it looks like a
But
Oh, that
there's
is
a
like the
robot.
smuttiest smut.
Oh no.
No, it's a mask.
It's
It's
Does
a
he have
second in a
sex with
it's a
people in the
standalone,
mouth?
right? Caught up.
It's a,
It's. Oh yeah, you gotta read Lights Out first, right?
You had to read the
Yeah.
first one, yeah.
Yeah.
But it says just for your awareness, Mandy, on the cover it says "Get on your knees and pray," and pray is spelled Prey.
girl.
So okay, that's
there are also some PRAYing going on as well.
If like I said before, like if they kind of want to kill me, I'm down. Like I'm down. Let's go.
That's a whole kink. That's a whole thing.
is.
And that's what they talk about in
I
the
have
book,
several
like,
recommendations
exploring
for
your
you.
kinks.
Oh, but
Yeah.
you have to be a mythical
So
monster.
so let's
like
talk about
I
that
don't.
word. Yeah. Well, hey, we have Ice Planet Barbarians for that too.
Yeah.
That's a whole different. We can talk about that. And that's the thing is like I wanted to talk about that word smut. I think for us on Book Club After Dark, it's a really important word for us to discuss in general, as women readers, as women who read titled smut, and the connotation that that word has. And you both have used that word in a positive way, and you both do content and make content and create content that empower women. And I want to talk about how that word specifically was the word you wanted to use for this, and why you think it went viral, and why you think that that's an important thing to talk about. Because I identified with that as someone who watched and listened to your song and have felt like there's a space of judgment by men and women, because it's not exclusively men, it's women too, who come after women for reading these books. And I'm curious. I like that you did it.
Mhm.
It was brave. I think it was really brave for you guys to do that. And I'm curious what your thoughts were going into it, and the passion behind it.
Well, women are attacked for everything we like. So, I mean, that it's
Fair.
it starts from the time that we're cheerleading, and we want to be dancers, and they're like, "Oh my god, that's so stupid." Like, at some point you just got to say like, "F you, I'm going to do what I want and I'm going to read what I want." And that's kind of where the song
it.
kind of came from. It's like it screams smut because yeah, you heard what we said. We like reading it, and if you like reading it, then you're part of the crew. If you're not, scroll, And that's just kind of where I'm at. Like, when I appreciate you saying that we post content for women empowerment, but I post content. It relates to me, and I know it's going to relate to other people. And it went viral, I think, because everybody's reading smut novels. People want connection. Women need connection, and we are craving masculine energy so much in our life. And I think, anyway, I am. And it's like, it's an escape, but it's also very, very telling to the times. It's also a recession indicator.
Interesting. Yeah, I think just as Andy says, like whenever women are really interested in something, we tend to like dismiss it or like be derogatory about it, whether it's astrology or smut books or some band that we're into, or Twilight. Like the fandom of Twilight, not necessarily the books, but like the culture of it. And yeah, I mean, also just like as a songwriting thing, like whenever you have a sound like that, smut. It's like such a better song than like, I like dirty books. You know what I mean? There's just, I mean, like, just as a writing thing, you're like, yeah, smut. And then it's like, I'm a little slut for a little bit of smut. I'm like, that's freaking brilliant.
It is.
Romanticy is a really
Amazing.
good word too, but smut is it's punchier. It punches you in the face.
And also, romanticy would be a little bit harder to rhyme. But you can champion. I think
Romanticy my panties.
Oh, there you go. See, Mandy's guy. I
No.
think I
Round.
can't speak for Mandy, but my guess is that
Song
I
too.
also have a life where I'm really blessed to not be surrounded by people who judge me in my real life. Like I don't have harsh judges in my family or in my friendships. And so I know that creatively I get to take a lot more risks and talk about my life and make bigger swings in my music because like, yeah, sure, I have haters in my comments, but not in my real life. And like, that's whenever I have like people who are just like such haters, I was like, I gotta remember, like, this is somebody's sister-in-law, mother, like daughter, and they're living with this kind of energy all the time. And so I think that like one of the reasons why, like, I think that's one of my jobs is like, I can take bigger swings because there isn't somebody like, my mom's not gonna come be like, what was this? But I mean, sometimes my mom's like, I just didn't want to read, or my dad will be like, I can't watch the thing, and I'd watch the titty video. I just didn't want to. I'm like, yeah, scroll past dad. Nobody is ever. Well, I think sometimes my mom's like, well, that was a bit inappropriate, but like, it's never from a judgment. It's from like a, and well, including
Generation.
like, even my extended family. Like, when my uncle's like, oh, I think I saw your video. I was like, oh, was it the dildo ad that I just did? And he's like, well, I don't think that was that one. Like, I just like from a family where like that's completely like at the dinner table at our Mexican family retreat. I can say dildo and nobody is like, oh yeah, cool.
Yep. Same with my family.
I would probably die.
I can sing humidity and my family doesn't blink an eye. It's very
And your
good
mom
to
will be in the
supported.
background in the video.
Yeah.
You know, my mom is gang for pretty much anything, but she hates being filmed. So I have to really
Same.
I have to really choose my moments with her. But then I make her angry and then it's even funnier. So that's like her reactions, like in my sorry for changing the subject, but her reactions in my video are very
You're good.
authentic because she's pissed at me. She's like, I don't want to film. I don't want to do this. And I'm like, Mom, like the people want it. Like you gotta give it your all. And she's just like,
Yeah. I did the
she's
same
just
with my mom. She's like, what you want me to do? I was like, just generally be unimpressed and not liking me. She's like, she was like, I'm uncomfortable. I was like, you're playing it perfectly.
Perfect. Yeah. That's what I'm going for.
But
Great.
going back to the word smut, I think it has a different connotation now to where it's an empowering word. It just means that like it's okay to like what you like and not give an F about what anybody thinks about it. So that's why really we wrote the song. And also we love smut novels. So
Well, yeah. Love them. Changed my
Oh,
life.
yeah. Exactly.
What's your favorite read? So if you had to pick one smut novel, favorite read of all time, or it can be a
Ooh.
series, because I know some of them there's like 50 of the.
That's a really hard
books.
question.
Michelle.
I could never.
Pun intended.
Michelle. I could never choose.
Never choose
Oh.
Desert Island. You have to pick one book or one
Oh.
That's
That's
saga.
That's terrible. That's a really hard choice.
I need these for recommendations, guys. Come on.
Okay.
Let him
Wait,
pick
I
more
mean,
than one.
probably something I'd probably bring a Sarah J. Maas series. And the reason is because those books bloom and there's so much depth to them that like even in your first, second reads, you can't quite get them. And I'd probably do Throne of Glass because there's just so many books in it.
Oh, yeah.
But like, that's not necessarily but it's not like one of those ones I was like, well, but I was like, well, if I'm on a desert island and I only have the books, like these ones
I
will
think of
nourish
Kingdom
me
of
for
Ash,
many
like-
years.
Okay.
I think of Kingdom of Ash either every other day. Something from Kingdom. Like I still think about that book.
Oh my
It's
God.
just
I haven't read them, and that's my desert island like thing because I know I'm gonna love them. So if I would bring that to a desert island for sure, if I had to.
Yeah,
the
If
Throne
you-
of Glass
if-
has almost no smut. I
Yeah.
will say that.
Oh,
You need to go
Isn't it
into
YA?
It's a Twilight. Yeah,
Oh,
it's
okay.
like that
Yeah.
level. There's almost none.
that's okay. That's fine. I don't.
Okay.
They're graphically, but
Violence
there's
is
no
good.
smut. Almost none.
I think though this isn't a.
cleanser. If you read like a lot of books with a lot of smut, then you can go with that one for a while. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, it's balanced.
What are either of you currently reading right now?
I'm reading What Lies Beyond the Veil by Harper L. Wood.
Oh,
I
nice.
Okay.
Ooh.
never heard of
Okay.
it, but I saw it at Walmart, and I shop for books like I shop for wine. I look at the picture, and if I feel a vibe, I grab it. And it's been good so far. It's, peasant girl. She is supposed to be like the wife of the owner of the town who's really awful and abusive. And then the fairy veil comes alive. And then, she jumps off a cliff and gets saved by a fairy. And yeah, it's pretty cool. I like it. No sex yet, but I don't
Okay.
need sex in the books because, Twilight. I like Twilight. What about you, Farideh?
I have been reading these books by Ruby Dixon, Bad Guy, Worst Guy, but also I've been kind of like, so I feel like I've read so many books, I'm not sure there's any good books left. And so sometimes you're like, what should I go back? So I had a real fixation on historical romance for a while. And I read, of course, all of the Bridgertons, but I didn't do the last like Hyacinth Gregory stories. And so I just recently went back and did those ones. And I basically even extended family, and now I'm going back in time. So I'm kind of like on a finishing. I'm like, hey, that was a good author. Now let's read the last 5 books I haven't read in their series. So that was really good. Actually, Hyacinth and Gregory both have. Actually, Gregory's story isn't that great, but Hyacinth is good.
Are the books similar to the series, or are they completely different?
Oh, they're very similar. They're quite
Okay.
similar. I would say they're all like close, but there's always like these different things. Like for instance, none of the Bridgerton novels have any kind of racial diversity. That's kind of Shauna's like real imagining. But like the Duke and I is very similar. Yeah, so I guess like the backstory of like the racial part could be different. Like with the Anthony's story, I don't think she's.
Well, it's
I don't think Kate
1800s when it was supposed to be like set. So historically,
Makes sense.
Europe was quite racist.
Yeah.
Honestly.
exactly.
So, you know, for the Netflix series, she's adding diversity, which I've loved. I've loved the
I love
cast.
Yeah.
this story is very nice. I'm sure that it will be good.
And Queen Charlotte. Is Queen Charlotte one of the
Yeah, I
books?
love Queen
or is that
Charlotte.
like
I
a
don't-
spin-off?
right?
in the
That was a
books?
spin after the Bridgerton books. Like I don't think,
Okay.
and I haven't read that one because that one's so sweet. But it's like one of those ones I won't go back to because it like hurts my heart.
Farmer
It does.
George.
Farmer George. I love
And George, it was like true too, historically.
Yeah,
Yeah,
About
it's
King
pretty
George.
historically
Mm-hmm.
accurate. I mean, obviously things are dramatized more, but I actually like my husband's a history person, so he was like that. We were talking about it, and we were talking about like his mental illness, disease, what
Yeah.
he was going through, and then Queen Charlotte and her background. He's like, that's actually pretty accurate. I mean, obviously some dramatizations, but it's
Mm-hmm.
pretty true to history.
for sure.
Did anyone here read One Dark Window?
Oh, can you remind me what it's about? Oh yeah, for sure. Is
It's
that
a-
Richard Black?
Yes.
How do you
Her
remember all of these
duology, and then
books?
I want to read the third one.
There's a third
They're
one.
authors.
Yeah,
I'm
there's
so
a
bad at doing both.
The third one came out in March, and
Right,
it's
I
like
haven't read the third one.
people love it right now. It's really, really popular. And I loved it. So Mandy, what I like too is like a good duology. I'm a huge fan of like a solidly done in 2 books. And
Mhm.
so what I really like about Carissa Broadbent, who wrote The Serpent and the Wings of Night, is her 6-book series is sets of duologies. And so like the first 2 books follow 2 lead characters. The first book is always female perspective. The second book is dual point of view. So the male and female perspective of those 2 characters. And then it ends in a good way. Well, in a
Really?
completed way. But then you pick up the next book in her series of the 6 books, 2 new characters. One of the characters was in the previous duology. Now, because you're already invested now, we're following them. And then her series continues. And so I really love that setup because it's just something where you can get invested and it still like ties together, but you have a nice bow from the first 2 books.
Mhm.
So Carissa Broadbent's, what I was going to say, what the One Dark Window is the same is what I was getting at, is the first 2 books are a duology, and now this third book is going to have another duology on the end of it, like a second book that marries to it. But the theming is still kind of the same. And this is kind of, when I started reading again a couple years ago, I hadn't really read setups like that before. This is the first time I had really seen the popularity of that being done and done really, really well.
Mhm.
That's what hooked me on Serpent and the Wings of Night, was that it wasn't a commitment like ACOTAR, which I loved, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't that level. I could read the first 2 books and had that satisfying closure, go on to the next thing, versus, you know, ACOTAR or Throne of Glass is like 8 books.
Mhm.
Just the level of commitment.
I love a one and done too. Like I love a book that is
Mhm.
just like complete on
Standalone.
its own for sure. But I've never read a double, which I think that would be like, I like a trilogy, like a solid trilogy. That is
Ooh,
really
yeah.
good. I love that.
Love a trilogy too.
Yeah. I was really into obviously like YA novels after I read Twilight. And there was this series that I read right after Twilight. It was called Strange Angels by Lily St. Croix. And obviously no sex because
Okay.
they're teenagers and stuff. It was so good. It was about this chick, and she was like a monster hunter. Basically her dad is a monster hunter, and like poltergeist, ghosts, zombies, all kinds of things. And she ends up in this coven and a whole bunch of stuff. It's so well written, and like the world is really good. So if you ever want like something that's a little less spicy and a little bit more adventurous.
You want something extra spicy that has the same thing, and it's Why Choose, and it's that same type of deal. And she is a graveyard like attendant who is a straight up badass with a scythe.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
should
Tell
read
me.
Grave Mistakes.
Tell me who it is.
Grave Mistakes is the first book, and it's by Raven Kennedy, who also wrote the Guild series, which is also a King Midas retelling. And if you haven't read those are really good.
Guys,
Really
you
good.
guys are opening me up to so much, and I'm really excited. I really wish I wasn't such a slow reader, though. I really need
Audible.
Listen, no, I am the slow
Well,
reader of the
audiobooks.
two of us. Danny will have a whole series done. I'm like, girl, I haven't even finished the last series that you recommended me. She's like, you need to read this now. I'm like, you literally just told me 5 other books, and I've just started one of them. I don't understand.
I'm not friend. There's always like, of the two of you, Farideh, you're the one that's like read everything and you're like, you need to read this. That's me.
Yep.
And then Mandy, you're Michelle, who's like just trying to keep up with a whole bunch of books.
Mhm.
Like, what do I do now? Okay. Last question. So Fated Mates Trope. Do we like it?
all day, every day.
Are we here for it?
Hun-
And because I
100%.
kind of think of, okay, Twilight Twilight kind of came out before the Fated Mates trope was like a big thing.
Mhm.
Right.
Now, because now it's like a huge thing. But I would definitely say Bella and Edward are fated mates.
Fated
to
right.
me.
Mhm.
I think they're fated mates. Yeah. Do we like it? Are we against it? What are our
Oh,
thoughts?
All
yeah,
day-
I love a fated mate story.
Mm-hmm. It's only thing that I'm interested in reading, to be honest. Like anything, even though I'm interested in reading a lot, but like I love reading about love and a forbidden love and fated connections, and I think everybody has had a connection in their life that is very strong, and that you think, oh, this was divine intervention or whatever. So I can connect to that, and that's why I like them so much.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair. Yeah. Well, with reading Twilight, I think because the term wasn't used, fated mates, but there are so many key indicators. Like she smells different.
Mhm.
She is different. He can't read her mind. You know, those are
That's
indicators
true.
that there is like a fate thing there, but she just didn't have the term for it.
And-
yet.
Something that I realized when I was reading Eclipse was, and again, I was 17 years old and I had this like adult realization that like in the Twilight universe or whatnot, if monsters didn't exist, then Bella would absolutely be with Jacob, right? That would have happened. They would have had kids they saw. And I think like they were supposed to be fated mates in the sense of human, they were soulmates in the human realm.
Right.
If the monsters didn't exist, then they would be together. And I remember thinking at that time, like, wow, that's such a sad realization, especially for Jacob. And I remember thinking like how pick me Jacob was all the time. But I get it because like he really, like that was his soulmate. No wonder he imprinted on Renesmee. That's another story. Oh, sorry, I'm giving it away for you, Michelle.
But you know what's interesting about that is
I've watched the movies, so
okay.
it's fine. I know.
there's also a similar thing in Throne of Glass with a different like love character, where it's a similar kind of thing that the human form of the main character would have been in love with a particular character and they were
Sam.
soulmate. Yeah, so I think
talking
that's
about Sam? Yeah.
interesting, similar.
I just remember being so broken up about
I
that in the hotel bathroom in Nashville. I finished that book at 3:00 in the morning. My whole family was sleeping in the hotel. I remember it. And I just remember like going in the bathroom and like crying and thinking like, even though I'm team Edward, like this is so sad for Jacob. Dude, Twilight affected me more than I could ever tell you.
So as I'm reading this, I'm obviously, beyond the team Edward and team Jacob because I know the ending and everything.
Mhm.
But as I'm reading, I'm like, Jacob's kind of just a puppy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a little bit younger. So, and he's just like, I think my
Young.
dad's crazy and I like you a lot. But, you don't like me and that's kind of okay. But it actually really sucks. And it's like, aw, you feel bad for him because he's
Mhm.
just a little puppy.
Yeah.
You know?
The one thing
It's a tough one.
The one thing that was annoying though about the books, going back to the dislikes, sorry, is the fact that like each one of the protagonist males, they kept just telling Bella that she was wrong all the time. Like, oh, you don't feel that way, Bella. You don't feel that way.
Mhm.
It's like, bitch, yeah, I do. I literally just told you. Believe it. Jacob.
Both of them did this.
Yeah.
Edward and Jacob, they both did it to her. And it was so infuriating. And the way I would get pissed at Edward every time he would literally tell her who she could like hang out with and like how protective he was
Mhm.
and everything in Eclipse, especially. I was like, boy, please with this. I can't with
Yes.
this noise. Like already has, she literally, you thought she killed herself for you in the last book, and now we're like worried who she's hanging out. Boy, you split. You went to like another country, and now we're worried about who she's hanging out with. Like, you literally left. Like, how are you coming up in this book being all pissed off?
Classic avoidant attachment.
Not cute.
He was a classic avoidant man.
Exactly.
He really set the stage for my love life and my relationships for going forward. You know, am I thankful that I loved Twilight so much? Yeah, but also not so much, because it really gave me a blueprint of a very unrealistic relationship life that I would have as an adult. But do they stalk me? No. Do they arrive in my bedroom?
Do we wish they
sometimes?
did?
Maybe. No. I just want somebody to be obsessed with me. Is really what it is. Like as obsessed as Edward was with Bella.
Here's my question for that. Are you obsessed back?
No.
Do you want to be as obsessed? Oh, okay.
No.
Just
Well,
wanted to
I
see
want
where
to.
the
I want to
level
feel
was of-
extremely passionate about them, but they absolutely need to be more obsessed with me than I am with them, which is very hard because
This is good to identify.
yeah, because I have a lot of passions and stuff, but you know, didn't know this was going to be a dating thing, but I brought it up. But yeah, I'm looking.
You
Single
only
looking.
yourself to blame. If you haven't dipped a toe into dark romance but don't want the full experience, Lights Out is a really good place to start. It's
It
still
is.
technically in that genre, but it's
And it's
I
all
wouldn't say that
consensual.
It's
cool.
all
Which is
Yes.
dark romance sometimes gets into the non-consensual, and that's why I get really icky. I know
Yeah.
some
Mhm,
people
same.
that's a kink for some people, and you know you like what you
Uh,
like.
Which
but-
more power to you, but not for
Right.
me.
That
would make-
Broken Bonds though. If you want a good why choose, that is a lot of fun. That's a really good series.
All right.
Have you read that one? Has anyone read Broken Bonds?
Oh yeah, I thought you said Broken Bonzo. I was like, oh yeah, Broken Bonds, excellent. Psycho Shifters, excellent.
Oh, I heard good things about Psycho Shifters.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna have to check that one out. Okay.
Well, thank you so much, Mandy and Farideh, for joining us. We've enjoyed talking Twilight, Smut, all the things that range in our conversation.
It was a pleasure being here and talking to you about
Yeah.
all of the things.
I love talking books. It's my favorite thing. Nobody wants to like get geeked down with me.
Oh, we're always
We're always
here. for that.
here. Yep,
Yeah.
always here for
Yeah.
that. Would you want to come back?
Yeah.
And join us, talk more books?
Yeah, you bet. I'll bring
Okay.
it back.
Yes. Yes. Bring all the Recs.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you both again.
Mhm.
I'm still fangirling over here. I can't believe you guys were like, yeah, we'll be on the show. I was like, our corner of the internet is being seen. The amount of work that Michelle and I pour into this show and have given time to, and to have, ladies of yours that we admire who would come on is we can't thank you enough for being willing to give your time and come on the show. So thank you for being here with us. And it's motivating for us. It's exciting. And, if we see you in the wild, like in real life, we're probably going to run up to you.
That
So
sounds good.
just be prepared for that.
Perfect.
Please,
It'd be hard to
please,
see me in the wild because I'm in Canada, but Mandy for sure.
if you ever see me in the wild, please run up to me and just hug me very tight, and tell me that
Love it.
I'm a demon that was summoned to ruin your life, just like Edward said to Bella. And then I'll just feel so happy about myself. Thank you. No, but really, this has been my pleasure. Thank you so much for having us. It was so
Right.
fun.
Thank you so much for having us.
Now it is time for our mystery Q&A. Thank you again so much, Farideh and Mandy, for being on the show. We absolutely loved having you. But again, these questions for mystery Q&A have not been shared with either of us prior to asking. Michelle, you want to go first?
Sure, I'll go first. All right. So
Okay.
this is going to be a millennial-based question. So
Okay.
in the millennial era, early, mid-2000s, what was your sneaker lineup?
Oh, girl, I was emo. Okay. I had the
Uh-huh.
Converse in multiple colors and I had Vans in multiple colors. So those were definitely my sneaker lineups of choice. I wasn't a DC girl. Those were really popular.
Oh.
I didn't have those.
Yep.
I remember like
I
the
was.
skater shoes that were like huge and puffy. I can't think of their
Etnies.
brand name now. Yes.
At knees.
I didn't have those
Mhm.
either. That wasn't me. I was definitely a Converse and Vans girly. I remember having blisters from certain types of Converse shoes, and I didn't give two shits because I was wearing them. Like, I did not care. I was wearing them. I also had the Fugs, which is Uggs, but
Fake Uggs.
faux Uggs, fake Uggs. Yes, I didn't have the real ones because Florida, obviously, my dad was not paying for real Uggs. Absolutely not. It was not going to happen. But I did have like a knockoff pair of Uggs that I wore briefly around this time. And even so
'Cause
later,
that was
like,
when, I'm sorry, that
Go
was
ahead.
when Sean Paul came out with the Temperature music video. Do you remember that? And like wearing the furry boots with the booty shorts was like really
Oh, yeah.
popular at the time. And
Yes.
that it makes no sense in Florida. That's literally a style that
No.
makes zero sense. But yeah,
No,
it
it
was
didn't.
it was that time.
But yeah, so I remember around this, specifically around the new moon time, right? I was in college. So as far as like shoes and stuff, it was still Vans primarily is what I wore. I didn't really wear.
You still wear Vans.
I do still wear Vans. Yep. I mean, tried and true. My son's first pair of shoes were Vans. I've had them with me for years and years. And yeah. All right. So what was your sneaker lineup?
So I was opposite. I did the skater shoes. I didn't really care for Converse and Vans because they're kind of narrow and my feet are a little bit wider.
are.
So they always gave me blisters on like
Yep.
the outside of my
break 'em in.
foot. And yeah, listen, there are only so many blisters you can withstand. So I was more
That's fair.
of the skate shoe, had the DCs, had Etnies. Yeah, that's what I had. But I also played basketball. So then I had like
Oh.
my Air Jordans, which are like two
There you go.
completely different, like
What was the color? Like,
Super
what was your colors on your
cultures.
Jordans? What kind of? Yeah, 'cause
They're
Jordans.
they're white
that's like
and blue.
That's a thing. Okay, yeah, the white
Yeah,
and blue.
but
okay.
they weren't like I didn't wear like I didn't have like dunks or anything. They're not like the fancy
Yeah.
ones. Those were like because
Okay.
fun fact, I in my right ankle I have half a tendon left because I tore my tendon so much. So I had
Oh
to
my gosh.
have like the high tops, tie them tight. I wore ankle braces. And throughout all of high school, I had a tan line from my ankle brace because I had to
Oh.
wear it so much. It was
That's funny.
adorable, absolutely. So those were definitely more like not fashion shoes. They got torn up because I had to use those 5 days a
Okay.
week during basketball season and then off season and all that stuff. So
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
All right.
All right, hit me with your question.
Why do you think millennials in particular put LOL in every phrase or sentence? What's our deal with that?
Because we're insecure. We don't want because we don't want to come off as mean. This is like the constant like, and I always connect everything back to like parenting and whatnot. Because if we say exactly what we feel in the exact tone we feel, we will feel bad if it gets misconstrued. Because we are at the time, and still texting, it's like it's hard to convey like thoughts and feelings. So like I can't, if I put no period, you're gonna think I'm pissed at you. I have to soften that with an LOL. So
Yeah.
I can't say what I actually mean, or you're gonna think I'm mad at you all the time. So that's honestly why I do it. I know I'm bad. I do like all the old millennial emojis.
Oh,
Like
hell
if
yeah.
I think something's hilarious, I put like the crying, laughing one. I'm not putting the dead skull face unless I'm actually like, dying. But
Oh, sometimes I
Yeah.
put the dead skull face. But follow up
it
question
has
to
to be
that.
like serious.
What kind
there.
of texter are you? Like, are you like, do you text like a full paragraph? Do you text like little thoughts as they come in? We all know which one I am.
I think it's.
Do we
yeah,
text?
No, your little thoughts. Oh
That's-
wait, I got. An
I've tried to
idea.
work on that,
Stay
but it's
with
really
me.
hard.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Send an audio message. Okay, wait, no, ignore that. Don't listen to it. Wait, no, and then it's a long stream. I'll like today. I was working on a project for school, and I put my phone on do not disturb. I am like, oh, I have 20 messages. I wonder who that's from. Oh, it's Danny. So I feel
It's all
like it kind
me.
of depends. I feel like I definitely do more of the long paragraphs, especially if I'm upset. Oh, if I'm upset.
Yeah, if you're upset, for sure. Yes. I have noticed.
But
If
I
you're
think
going
I do,
through it,
like-
you do the paragraphs.
Yeah, I'm like, bear with me, and then I have like a whole essay, and that's like
Yeah.
the like English major in me. I have to write an essay.
Mhm.
I do not know what brevity is. I long-winded, very long-winded when it comes to stories. But sometimes it's like shorter. I feel like most of the times it's shorter.
I think for me when I'm texting you like all those things, it's because I'm like excited about something for the show and I have this like creative moment where I'm like, if I don't get it out right now, it doesn't count. Or
Oh,
I'm
yep.
gonna get out wrong, or like I'm gonna forget that I have it or whatever. And so I'll just be like, okay, well, could do this. Okay, like save that for later. Like we're gonna table it. And like we add it to our notes later, but like sometimes I'll be driving and I can't add it to my notes, which by the way, don't text and drive. So I'll do a voice note of like, hey,
Or
I'm
you'll just
using
call
voice
me
to text.
and I'm the
Oh, yeah, I'll
I
just
do
call
not
you.
pick up
You
my
don't
phone.
answer the phone. No, you don't.
I never answer the
don't.
phone. I'm so
Mm-mm.
sorry.
You don't.
I am the
You
friend
never answer
that
my
keeps
calls.
my phone
Horrible.
on do not disturb
Yeah.
like 80% of the time.
Yeah,
So
you're
it's
terrible
so
at answering the
bad.
phone. It's quite literally if I'm like, oh, well, good to know if there was an emergency, I can't get a hold of her. That's awesome.
Well, I also don't have an Apple Watch. So to be fair, my phone is somewhere like you can ask my husband. The day I'm like, where's my phone? And I'm like wandering around the house trying to find it. So I don't have an Apple Watch to tell me if I get notifications and it's somewhere. Sometimes my daughter just steals it and
Wow.
puts it somewhere.
Okay.
Or it's literally under my dog. Like the amount of
Yeah.
times I've found it under Lincoln is wild. And we'll call it. I'm like,
Yeah.
boy, it's buzzing. Like it's literally vibrating on your butt. Why are you not getting up?
He's like, I'm
So-
enjoying this. I don't need to. Yeah. It's funny.
The little massage.
For me, going back for the LOL thing, I think, yeah, I agree with you. We're insecure, but I also think that we are trying not to be like the previous generation in a lot of ways where
Mhm.
we are kind of a people pleasing generation, oddly enough. We're trying to please the generation that was ahead of us, and we burnt ourselves to a crisp doing that. And then now we're trying to please the generation behind us to make sure they're not as fucked up as we are. And so we're like in this
Yep.
weird middle ground where we're just like, haha, LOL, everything's okay. And it's like the guy with the
But
dumpster
dying
fire going
inside.
around him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Literally.
It's fine.
where the guy's sitting there with a
Fire.
cup of coffee in the fire. The Elmo, where he's just
Yeah.
he's just got the fire going on around him because we've just been through so much as a generation, like so
Let me
much.
tell you.
We've been through
We've
so
been through
much. We've been through
how
it.
many
I don't know,
wars?
but it's a lot.
How many
Quite literally. Oh my god.
How many
so much,
economic
so much.
catastrophes? Like,
Oh my God,
what is
it's
going
too much.
on?
Yeah, now we're in the age of AI. Good lord, who knows?
So
Just too
everything
many
has to be
things.
fine,
Ugh.
or it's like just going to implode. Like honestly, it's like okay, cool,
It's a lot.
another
Yeah.
world.
Then you have the other
war,
generations who are
whatever
like,
is
oh,
coming.
millennials have it so easy on one side, and they're both like thinking like,
I'm sorry.
and I'm like, do we? I don't feel
We've
like
never lived
that's
in an
necessarily
economically
true.
sound time. I have what? The fact that our parents were able to buy a house with one income and to buy groceries, like, and like high
even
end
live on
shit.
one income, really crazy.
Right. You can't live on
honestly.
one income now. I mean,
No,
you can,
yeah.
but you're scraping by. And like, even
Yeah,
on 2
you're struggling.
incomes, like 2 standard
Yeah.
incomes, you're still like, what is going on here? So the fact that anyone
Yeah.
thinks millennials had it good can go suck a dick because I can attest to, I did the
You
whole,
heard it here first.
I was top of my class in high school. I graduated cum
You did all the
laude
things.
in college. I'm getting my master's. I did all the things, and it's still shit. So, like, I was promised with a college education, you have a great
Hey, now you
job
have
and
a
great
side
future.
hustle that you hope is going to be replacing that one day. Come on,
Hey,
folks.
But it took the side
Book club
hustle.
after dark.
No one said a side hustle had to happen. Freaking
No,
boomers lied
they
to
didn't.
us.
Yeah, but that's okay. I'm enjoying what we've got going on now. I'm really excited
I
about
am
it,
too.
and I'm glad that we're
Economic
doing this and that
travesties aside.
this happens because technology, which is a good thing, is definitely something that we can leverage, which we're doing now. So that's we'll try to take that as a benefit. Sure, we'll find it. We'll find a benefit in
Absolutely.
there. Very millennial of us to be like, let's find a silver lining here.
Fine. It's fine. We'll
Everything's
make
fine.
it.
Yeah, we'll make it be fine.
Burning.
Yeah.
All right. Before we wrap up, let's talk about what's coming up next in Book Club After Dark.
Yes. Next week, we are diving into Eclipse by Stephenie Meyer. Of course, we're going to do the book movie comparison and hit that subscribe button to hear more of our exciting book talk. We're looking forward to dissecting this novel and its films and pop culture and all the things with
All
you.
the things. And don't forget, we want to hear from you. If you have thoughts on New Moon or suggestions for future reads, drop a comment below or message on one of our social media platforms at Book Club After Dark Pod. Show us your fan art, theories, or anything bookish you'd like to share.
You can also visit our website, bookclubafterdark.co, to stay up to date on our cozy content and check out our merch, which I did just add a couple new things, by the way.
And that's all for tonight. Sleep tight, night owls. Until next time, happy reading.